All right, so I'll call to order this meeting of the Greenfield Conservation Commission at 6:30 p.m., February 13th, 2024. Commission members present are me, Kristen, Erica, and Elizabeth is almost a voting member. She just needs to be sworn in later this week, and then she will be almost there. So we do have a quorum. We have three voting members here. And just to note that this meeting is being held virtually, and if any technical interruption occurs that makes the meeting suddenly end, it won't be resumed tonight, and all items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting date. Also, as you may have heard, this meeting is being recorded by the Conservation Commission, and if anyone else is recording the meeting, you're required to let me know. All right, so first on the agenda, we have approval of meeting minutes, January 23rd, 2024.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from January 23rd.
Second.
All right, motion to approve, seconded. Any other discussion?
Looks good to me.
Okay, so since we are meeting virtually, we do have to do roll call votes for everything. So we'll do a roll call vote to approve the minutes. Kristen,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So that motion passes and the minutes are approved. So we have one other administrative matter, which is a vice chair election. Our vice chair recently left the commission, so we are currently without a vice chair. So I'll take nominations for vice chair.
I'll nominate Kristen. I don't know whether she wants me to nominate her or not, but
Well, I'm not as senior as you are, Erica. You actually, I
But-
think, are our most senior member.
yeah, but I don't really want to do it.
I guess I don't have a choice because we don't have anyone else to do it.
Yeah, I mean, soon we'll have some more members, and we'll do reorganization in July. So
Yeah.
uh,
So what does that mean? It's
So-
temporary until July?
well, technically, me being chair is temporary until July, and you being, if you were voted vice chair, we re-vote every July. So someone else could be nominated, or you could choose not to do it anymore at that point. So I guess I just wanted to know if you would accept if we vote for you.
Yeah, I feel like we don't really have a choice. I mean, there's only 3 of us right now, so I have
Yeah,
to
it's only 3.
really.
Okay, unless you want to make Erica do it. But
No, I wouldn't do that to you, you stinker.
all right. So no other nominations then, I assume. All right, so we will vote on Kristen as vice chair. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Bye.
and I'm an aye. So Kristen, congratulations, new vice chair of the Conservation Commission. Add that to your CV. All right. I don't want to take too much time because we do have a number of public hearings and public meetings on the agenda for tonight and other things to get to. So let's try to keep it moving along. So first, under public meetings and public hearings on the agenda, we have notice of intent bank stabilization at Green River Swimming Area, map 27, lot 18, DEP file number 168356, continued from January 23rd, 2024.
Yeah, so nothing yet. So continue
So they
to
want
the
to continue that.
27th.
Okay. And I guess just a note, so at the if we continue this to the 27th, Elizabeth would be a voting member at that point, and Kristen has recused herself from that one. So the only 2 ways we could move forward at that point is either Elizabeth would need to like review the materials from the previous public hearing, the earlier part of the public hearing, and then fill out that form, the Mullins rule form. Or if she didn't do that, then Kristen, we would have to use like the rule of necessity, and Kristen would have to be able to vote too. So I guess Mitch, if you could maybe send that stuff to Elizabeth before that next meeting, just to
Yeah,
be
I'll
sure.
do that. I'll send her the. I think it was just the one meeting we talked about it,
I think it
think so.
was,
but
yeah.
I'll make sure.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. All right, so I'll go ahead and motion to continue the public hearing for notice of intent bank stabilization at the Green River Swimming Area, map 27, lot 18, DEP file number 168356, to our next meeting, which is February 27th at
Second.
6:30 p.m. All right,
Oh,
we have a
sorry,
second.
second.
No, that's okay. Second. Okay. Any other discussion on that? I guess I already discussed my discussion there. All right, hearing none, we'll vote on continuing that public hearing. Kristen,
Abstain.
Erica,
Aye.
and I'm an I. So with a majority, two to one abstaining, that passes. So um, that will be continued to our next meeting. Okay, so next on our agenda, we have a public meeting, request for determination of applicability, invasive species removal at 108 Deerfield Street, map 24, lot 39, continued from January 23rd, 2024. And I'll just read on the agenda. It says the project proposes the cutting of approximately 20 small Norway maple saplings, 3 privets, 3 mulberry trees, and 3 larger Norway maples atop the slope by the abandoned Mead Street and east of the Green River. The stumps will be left in place. And do we have someone here to talk about that project? Oh no, Mitch, you said they weren't able to attend this one, but they sent the materials along, right?
Yeah, so it sounds like usually they'll have other commitments Tuesday night, but they sent us
Do you want
um
to share
this
those
list of
materials?
their preferred plants.
Hey, Mitch, is this list based off of the county checklist?
Yeah, I had sent that to them, so that's what they were using.
Thank
So
you.
it should all be native to the county.
Did they indicate at all like how many of each of these things they want to? It seems like a lot of a huge variety here.
Hmm.
I think their plan was to do a 1-to-1 what they were removing.
Mm.
So I think there's a little discretion on which plants they do and how many.
Hmm.
Maybe difficult to get the dream list from a local nursery too. So maybe that's why it's a little bit longer than what will actually be implemented.
Yeah, it does say like some grasses and flowering perennials and ferns for ground layer. So
Mitch, did you have a chance to cross-check that?
Yeah, I double checked.
Awesome. And nothing's rare? Like nothing state listed, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, no, it's all native.
so I'm trying to remember from the last meeting we had about this. Um, does anyone remember, was this essentially what we had asked for was a planting list and like an updated planting plan?
Yeah, I think this is where where we
Yeah.
left off. Was just to replace what was missing, what would be removed, so that
Mhm,
there's not more erosion.
mhm. And so I guess even though they aren't here tonight, we could, if we felt this was sufficient, we could, uh, you know, vote on, um, a negative determination or positive. This was an RDA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we could vote on this if this is sufficient for everyone, or if we have more questions that could go back to them.
Can we have any conditions with this? Since it's an RDA or no?
Yeah, we can.
If we don't vote negatively.
Yeah, we could issue a negative determination um, that essentially says the work will not alter the area if these conditions are followed. So I think that's where we would want to. Um, I mean, they said they were going to leave stumps, but that could be a condition to like leave stumps in and
Hmm.
um, replant. Do like the one-to-one, at least one-to-one replanting.
And replant if
Using
things die and stuff.
yeah,
Like
we
a like
can.
a like a 2-year kind of make sure they actually take.
mm,
Yeah, that's a good point. Is this, um, I'm sorry, can you refresh my memory? Is this riverfront or is this our jurisdiction in terms of a resource area or is this just buffer zone?
It's riverfront and flood zone, I think.
Okay, so then we could ask for, it does require performance standard, um, 2-year kind of post installation, um, survivorship assessment, that kind of thing.
um, I guess
Question. It's me, Patricia O'Neill. If I can ask at some point.
okay. Just give us a minute, and then let us work through some questions, and then I'll. I know we have a lot of people here tonight, and I'm not sure which projects people are here for specifically, but I'll try to ask. Yeah, if there are
Is there a
questions.
map of this area?
Yeah, Mitch, do you think you could bring up the map? Kristen, I was gonna say that I don't think I don't think it would require like a survivorship thing because it's not technically like a restoration. Um, like the project itself isn't like a habitat restoration. It's removal of invasive species.
Oh, gotcha.
And
Okay. So that doesn't
um,
really require full compliance with the performance standards, is what you're saying.
yeah, well, and at this point, it's just an RDA, so um right now we're determining, if it would alter the resource area uh enough that they would need to file a notice of intent, then we'd have to issue a positive determination. And then there would be all the performance standards that come with that.
Okay.
Or if we say that it's not going to alter the resource area by doing the minimum amount of work that they're doing,
Okay,
then
so then for following that logic, then could we even really require 2 years of post monitoring if like post installation monitoring and replacement of plants if it's not an NOI?
I mean, typically we can do a negative determination um, and essentially attach whatever conditions to it that we feel is necessary to prevent an alteration to the resource
Gotcha.
area.
Okay.
So if we thought that's what needed to happen, then I think we could, but
Gotcha. All right, I'm caught up
yeah,
now. Thank you.
okay.
That's kind of the way I was going. That yeah, that it's not gonna alter as long as they're replaced, but if, 50% of the things die, then there's a lack of, vegetation coverage and stuff.
Mhm.
It seems like they're really on top of it and they know what they're doing, so.
Yeah, and we could also, I mean, if we want to be a little more in that direction, but a little less heavy-handed about it, maybe just like ask them to report on what the survivorship is or something, like
But not require it to be like a wetland scientist or somebody with,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And maybe just provide some photos and stuff of, things living.
Hmm.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
the total number of plants that they're proposing to install? Mitch, do you have that number handy?
I think in that updated thing that they sent, uh, I think it might have said,
Yeah, it started
yeah.
listing like 3 of this and
That's the removal.
Well, it says they plan to remove that many and replace them with, and then listed these things. So,
Oh, 36 of the above mentioned species to replace all plants. Um, I mean, it's not a very large number of plants. It's not like they're going out and quantifying 1,500 tagged saplings and shrubs and
yeah,
quantifying herbaceous cover.
and it sounds like they're removing 29 saplings. So I don't 29 invasive saplings. So
My
yeah.
one concern is, I mean, I'm all for this. I think this is great. Invasive species are bad, native species are great. But are we maintaining shade coverage? Is this just like a can I see that replacement list again? I mean, are they replacing these trees with mostly shrubs? Or do we have trees? Do we have shade trees
well,
here?
They do mention that
The
they're
part-
using species that are have
Yeah.
high survival rates in that condition, which is the hot, dry, arid, sun exposed area.
but they also mentioned that they were looking for shorter things under 20 feet because they have solar panels on their roofs and they
Oh,
don't want
that's
them
right.
wasted.
Okay.
So
I remember this now.
Yeah, this meeting's been continued a few times, I think. So
yeah,
makes it a little more difficult to remember. All right. Any other things we need to I was going to say questions for the applicant, but they're not here, so we can't ask them. I mean, if there are other questions that we feel like need to be answered and that we can't finish this tonight, we could send them to them and continue this to the next meeting. I don't want to make it sound like we have to rush to finish
Mm.
this if we don't think we're ready.
I
But
will just say that I'm not seeing a lot of shade trees here. And then I would also just ask that maybe our agent cross-check and make sure everything is native to our county and that there's nothing state listed.
So are you saying that,
maybe
sorry, I was just gonna say, are you saying
Sorry.
that you would want to ask them that before we like finish this, like continue this to another meeting and ask them that question, or?
Well, that's also a question for the other commissioners. Is that something anybody else is considering? You know, that
Mm.
is it
we're removing a bunch of shade trees and not replacing any shade trees. It's all shrubs and herbaceous veg. And small, like M-link years, I wouldn't call that a tree, but it's like a
Yeah,
short crabapple type of a tree.
yeah, Mitch, if you could show pictures, maybe. I guess I think the trees that are there maybe aren't all that big anyway. I mean, eventually
Oh,
they would
okay.
be.
When I heard, Norway maple, I assumed they were probably pretty big, but
Mm.
Like,
Well,
they're
I took
mostly
out,
in.
yeah, I was gonna say I cut a lot of Norway maples in my yard, and they were mostly under like 2 or 3 inches in diameter.
yeah, they don't live that long either. They're fast growing and love to die at around 50, 60 years old, but
Mm. So yeah, and this was the one where they said previously someone
yeah.
else had cut some trees down
Mhm.
prior to them doing this project. So maybe the bigger trees were already gone. I don't
When they originally did this project, they did cut up several trees. Clear the land.
know. Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I kind of remember
is
talking
it
about last time they were here, silver maple and they probably don't want Eastern cottonwood because those are widow makers, but floodplain shade trees, I guess but I forget, are they not amenable to that at all because that would block their solar panels?
it seems like they should be able to put in even, one or two that would not be in the way. I mean, that whole area, I mean, it seems like there should be some place in that area that wouldn't cover their panels, I would think. I don't really know.
Maybe do we
Just
want
seems
the
weird.
applicant here before we
I mean
close
that,
this?
yeah, that could be. I mean, that could be a question we, send to them if they're not able to be here, they could at least, respond, and we could, um, you know, Mitch could send them an email stating, a concern for a lack of large trees in the mix, and you know how
Mm.
how they could address that.
Maybe on the corners of where they're proposed to planting or something, or I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe they could give us a solid reason to justify why they don't want them. And that would squash all of our concerns right there. Like maybe there's, really sensitive alluvial soils they don't want to create a top heavy bank situation and create more erosion, or they don't want to block their solar, whatever their reasons. But I feel like I wouldn't mind some shade trees, and I would like to know if that's something that they would be amenable to or not. And just like to hear the reasons
Mm.
personally.
I think that's reasonable. And I mean,
Mhm.
since it's February, I'm assuming they're not going to be,
Mhm.
rushing to get out there and plant things right now anyway. So,
I think the solar panels was the big reason.
Do we know how far back the facility is from this top of bank area? Like, do they have a height restriction? I mean, I don't know what the math is on tree
Yeah.
height to solar panel distance and all that, but which building are we talking about? Where your cursor is, or the one to the
Yeah, I think
south?
those are the
Okay.
solar panels.
mm,
So yeah, maybe like at the northern end, it wouldn't be as much of an issue as at the southern end of that, I'm assuming, red polygon. I don't know.
mhm,
Well, and that way, you get more sunlight coming out of the southern end anyway. So if it's at
My
the
point.
northern end, you're not really blocking the sun per
That's
se.
my point. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like if you put like you know, one shade tree at the northernmost end, maybe that's gonna be outside their angle. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to speak for the applicant, but that's one of my
mm,
concerns. I hate to see,
mhm.
even though they are Norway maples, and I hate Norway maples. Be nice to see some silver maples go in there, if that would be possible,
Mhm.
even just like at the northern end.
I think that's
Or other
reasonable.
tree, if they really hate silver maples. I don't know why they would, but And they're great bat habitat.
Yeah. Okay. I guess and we do have a lot of members of the public here. And for an RDA public meeting, public input is not required like it is with an NOI process, but that is up to us to allow or not. And so, if there are any comments from the public, we could hear those too at this time.
Okay, I'm curious if this area being so close to the river is potential flooding a consideration of this area? Do you have any like requirements about floodplain species for an area like this? I mean, it looks like it might be a dry slope, but also
Maybe-
very close to the river.
Sorry, maybe, I don't know what these shaded areas are, Mitch. Could you maybe just explain what this mapping is?
Yeah, so this red polygon is roughly where they'll be working, and so this is the flood zone, this diagonal line. I think they're pretty much outside of flood zone. They didn't end up actually being on city property, so this is probably even more than they're actually doing. So they're probably not in flood zone at all.
Mm.
And then this blue, the clear blue, is riverfront area.
And riverfront goes out 200 feet from
Right.
the bank.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think we looked at an aerial image last time that showed this is like pretty high up on the bank
That's
from
what I
the
was gonna say.
river.
It's a really steep bank. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we can really see it in those pictures very well, but it didn't. I think that'd have to be quite a flood for water to get up there.
So one bank is shorter, or I guess a lower elevation than the other bank. So then the flood zone's wider on the other bank. Is that what? Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see.
Have you ever been, have you gone to Rick Aries? Like that area behind them is lower, but they're right next to it. And so
Yeah, so
they're
the
up in that upper
elevation,
part. Yeah, they're
yeah,
up on the upper part and then,
gotcha.
um,
So like mean annual high water is probably somewhere in the middle of that bank. I don't know if that's the left descending stream bank or the right descending stream bank, but it's probably like middle of that taller bank is what you're saying, somewhere around, I don't know what the elevation is for
Yeah, I
that
think.
floodplain, but gotcha. Thanks, Erica.
Right.
Patricia, did that answer your question, or did we just go?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I wonder about like with really intense flooding predicted in the future, like where if even this high up area might be someday, and maybe someday soon, flooded potentially if we get some really big rain. But I don't think we can see that. So I guess so, yes.
I will just throw in there, Patricia, that there are Mass DEP proposed regulatory changes on climate change resiliency.
Mhm.
Although a lot of it seems to be focused on coastal stuff. But if you feel like you want to dig into that and opine, the question and answer period is open now until April 30th. So,
Oh,
um,
can you repeat that?
yeah, so yeah, Mass DEP is proposing some regulatory changes to the Wetlands Protection Act and stormwater standards. It's proposed. These aren't regulated yet. It's just proposed right now, but they're taking comments from the public, and the comment period was recently extended until April 30th.
Oh, amazing.
So if you're interested in like climate change, flooding and that kind of stuff, there are a number of new tools that DEP is proposing. It seems to me like it's mostly focused on coastal stuff, but since that's a question you brought up, if you're interested
Yeah.
in digging in more into that, just go to the Mass DEP website, and I'm sure it's the first thing on there because they're looking for public comment right now.
Amazing, thank you.
Kristen, I will say, I was in a presentation recently where they were talking about those proposed changes, and there are the changes to the stormwater standards, I think would, using like different 10-year storm calculations or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah,
was
I saw
probably
that.
the most impactful for us, but also, climate change related. I was just going to share. So this is an outdated photo because it was before the buildings were built. But that's the parcel, and you can kind of see. I think it's where these trees. One, at some point used to be up here on this ridge. So it's still kind of hard to see, but there's like this little path down here. I think
Mhm.
is that the city property, Mitch? Do you know? I know there was a question about,
Yes.
yeah, so this down here, and
So
it's outside of that city property.
is the bank like tiered then, kind of?
I think it kind of is, yeah.
Okay, all right, that
I
makes
think it
sense.
like
That's
goes
probably where the
up,
flood zone is. Like that's,
yeah,
yeah, okay.
and then there's like it like goes up, and then there's like a path that goes out to down to this road, and then it goes up again, and then there's those trees.
Sure.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Um, has a plant inventory been done of this area to see how, like what percentage it might be invasive versus existing native floodplain species?
Yeah, in my understanding, I don't think, well, Mitch just shared where it said they were going to take out a certain number of things, so I think that's how many they've found to take out, but I don't think there's been like a full uh study at like what percent is native or invasive at this site. I think it's more just like people live there and they saw these invasive plants behind their house and they're like, can we do a project to take these out and we'll put some natives back in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I knew, well, if it's really, if there are a lot of nice floodplain species that are there, they can recolonize an area. And if they're also causing extra disturbance to a wetter invasive area, I mean, depending on what it is, that might cause them to spread a little bit more vigorously. But I just saw Japanese knotweed down by the edge, which it doesn't look like it's coming up to the front, but I just wondered about if that's like in a riverfront area or anywhere that requires extra protection, whether an assessment like that might be done to help decide whether it's worthwhile to just try to let the existing species recolonize with minimal disturbance, or to really aggressively replant an area.
I think that's a good point, Patricia. Invasive species thrive in recently disturbed areas, and there was knotweed. And I don't remember, did we talk about how they were gonna deal with the knotweed, or are they just not gonna deal with knotweed? Are they just hand trimming woody veg?
Was the knotweed on their property or was that down on the city property, maybe?
Oh,
Yeah, I think that's down further, the
that
city
makes sense.
property.
Okay.
Like down on that lower bank area. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, uh, I think invasive plant removal, things like this are Um, I think there's a lot that could be done with unlimited time and money.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the, the crux of it. And if, um, I don't know, if they're willing to replant and, you know, get things back in there, I think that will not only encourage the things that are already there to spread, but also, the new plantings as well. So
Yeah. I know Dorothea. I'm sure she'll be taking good care of it, replanting and tending it. Thanks.
thanks for the comments. Anyone else have any questions or comments about this project from the public? Okay, so it sounded like we were going back to our previous discussion about the trees. It sounded like we wanted to at least ask them about the lack of large shade trees and either suggest some large shade tree plantings or justify not using them.
That's my opinion. I mean, I'm curious if the other commissioners.
I think that makes sense. And I mean, I don't think this is, like I said, it's probably not super urgent. Like, we've had people like, you have to pass this at this meeting because we need to get
Yeah.
started. And I don't think it's one of those projects. So, Erica, Elizabeth,
Yeah,
does
no,
that-
that seems like it's reasonable, and yeah, if they can't attend, they can just, they can send some information to Mitch or whatever.
yeah. Okay. So, Mitch, do you think you could, contact them with those questions or that one
Um,
question essentially?
yeah, so see their justification for not doing as much shade trees. If they do some shade trees, I guess how much are we requesting? Just because
I
seems
know
like
it's
they
hard
can't,
going back and forth,
right?
right?
It's hard when they're not here.
Yeah.
Seems like they can't meet most Tuesday nights. So
Okay. I don't know. Does anyone have any specific? Kristen, I think you said one or two. Like, could they do one or two?
Well, I was just gonna say, would they
Right,
be
yeah.
amenable to thinking about, where there's the least project constraint? So I don't really know what their project constraints are. If it is solar, if it's shading out their solar panels, then would they be amenable to putting them in the northern end? Like Liz said, or, if there are other constraints that maybe we haven't really discussed, like alluvial soils, and they don't want bank erosion, they don't want to lose land. I don't know, whatever. I'm not going to put words in their mouths, whatever they come back with. But I'm just saying, I would like to see some more shade trees if possible. Personally.
We did get a comment in the chat. Pussy willow, 30-foot other native willow.
I will say that both willow and salix and alder are really easy to establish, and cornice, like really easy to establish, super low maintenance. Stick a live stake in the ground even now, right now in the middle of winter, and it'll grow. And pussy willow would shade out possibly the well, not if it doesn't go down on the lower part of the bank. Never mind. I was thinking about just getting rid of that knotweed, but not if it's at the top of the bank. Never mind.
So I guess it sounds like we don't have a specific ask
Yeah.
for a certain number of trees, but at least ask them to like consider
Yeah, I think
the possibility of trees.
So one potential besides the solar panel issue that I'm seeing here is I'm not super clear on where the property lines lay. And it seems like that northern piece, Kristen, that looks like a good place might not necessarily be something that they actually have the ability to plant into. Again, I'm not seeing the property lines on the map in the folder there, so
Yeah, so maybe that's something that the applicant can come back with more information on too. Like, I mean, again, maybe that's their argument. Maybe it's not their property. Maybe they have project constraints. I don't know, but they're not here, so we just don't know. Can
Yeah.
you put the go under images and then go under 2021 orthos and
Hmm.
see if maybe that helps? Ariel. Yeah, go to 2021. And then drag that under, yeah, there you go. Yeah, so like see where the lawn ends? Yeah, maybe that's, I don't know.
I'm also
Yep.
seeing now both the buildings have solar panels.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
one has. Yeah, I guess you could maybe ask specifically about like the northern end of the project, and I don't know. Or at least get some clarifying like Kristen said, we don't want to just assume, assume things from them.
Mhm.
Okay, so if that's what we're gonna do, we would need a motion to continue this. Well, I, I, yeah, I think that's what we would do. I mean, we don't have the applicant here to, you know, say that that's okay, but
didn't-
I asked them beforehand if we couldn't figure it out.
yeah,
They said, yeah.
okay, that's good.
So I can motion to request a continuance for the request for determination of applicability at 108 Deerfield Street.
All right.
Second.
All right, we have a second. Any other discussion on that? So it sounds like the discussion is before our next meeting. This will be continued to the 27th. And before then, if they could respond to those questions that Mitch is gonna send to them. Okay. Any other discussion? All right, we will vote on the motion to continue this to February 27th. Kristen,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
I am also an aye, so that motion passes unanimously. All right. So thanks, Mitch, for being able to send that email to them. All right.
Yep. It's disappeared.
Did we lose Travis? Oh,
Hello. Sorry
Yeah.
about that. I meant to hit the button to share my screen and I hit leave meeting instead.
well, now Liz is in the top left for my screen anyway, so
Yeah.
you've been bumped to fourth, Travis.
That's okay. That's okay. I was just gonna share the agenda while I was reading it. Um, so we have one public hearing and one public meeting left at this meeting. So the next is public hearing, local notice of intent / request for determination of applicability for a single family house on Pickett Lane, map R23, lot 49B. The proposed project involves site clearing and grading for the construction of a new single family house. And we have someone here for that project to discuss that.
Yes, it's John Schultes. And
All
I'll
right, welcome.
start my video.
Yeah, great.
And good evening.
Good evening.
And let's see. Since I don't have access to the stuff that Mitch does in front of him, we're proposing a construction of a single family home on a approximately 2 acre lot on Pickett Lane. The owners of the property are Drew and Jacqueline Barracino. They're online with us this evening. I'm John Schultes. I'm the engineer and prior owner of the site. I'm advocating on behalf of the applicant tonight. And
Yeah, is there a specific plan that or image you would like Mitch to be sharing to walk through this?
yeah, well, this is probably not the best one. There's a large site plan. The presentation one, Mitch, would be a good one. That was on that last screen. You had something up.
Ah, I
Oh,
see it.
the one that said, oh, yeah.
Presentation, yeah. This is a depiction of the northwestern corner of the lot 49B. Can I get control of that, Mitch? In some way?
I don't know if there's,
At least a pointer?
yeah, I don't think there is, unfortunately. I think you would, if you have this on your computer, you could share it and then you could.
All right, well, I'll just kind of describe it. You on the upper left-hand corner, there is a black dot. That is the northwestern corner of this lot. You can see the right of way from Pickett Lane going from the southern portion of the screen to the northern portion of the screen. This is a development of what we're hoping to be a near final site plan that we're proposing. The site is a slope site. It slopes from the northwest to the southeast. On the right hand side of the screen, there's another black dot. I think Mitch can kind of put it. That's one of the other property corners. That is on the Millbrook side of the site. The site is bound entirely enclosed by two intermittent streams that were caused or the sources of those streams are two culverts on the north side, just above the black dot on the north side. Mitch, if you can kind of get everybody oriented there. You can see it says existing 18-inch outlet. That is where the west side of Pickett Lane drains into a very deep swale that goes around the perimeter of the proposed construction area. And then on the south side, there is another 18-inch culvert that crosses Pickett Lane and drains again into the Millbrook drainage area on the south side of the site. And this map depicts the center lines of these two intermittent streams. The one that goes from the south, it's that heavy dotted line that originates at the end of the culvert, going out a short distance, and then it becomes a fairly flat area, and there's no discernible water flow at that point. And then on the north side, if we can take you up on the north side again, Mitch, as I can, the stream kind of meanders at the deep depth of a deep swale that goes all around the perimeter of that area. Wetlands were previously mapped as part of the original site development for lot 49, which was the original property that I purchased and subsequently subdivided. The non-disturbed line shows the 25-foot from the delineated wetlands along the perimeter of this area. And the site that we've developed is within the 200-foot area riverfront area, and at the very perimeter of the 100-foot riverfront area. This was we did this as a two-stage approach at the behest of Mitch. One as an RDA for determination of applicability. We pretty much know it's applicable, but we also that was to get the Mass EPA involved as far as a notification, and then we also filed for a notice of intent relative to the activities in the riverfront area. And as part of that, we've prepared a alternatives analysis, which we'll present shortly. But I just try to get you a little bit more familiar with the site before I get into that. And this is a good way to do that. The site goes from approximately 249 feet or 246 feet down to all the way down to the waterfront water or flood zone area. The flood zone is depicted by the dashed line to the right-hand side of the screen. That's the flood line relative to Millbrook. Okay, there is a GIS wetlands boundary that was mapped in part of your GIS mapping. And additionally, the site has a NHESP estimated priority habitat boundary line, which has been shown on this, kind of runs vertically down the middle of the screen. It's not a vertical line, but it runs vertically. And that's the NESHAP area. Nesh, however you want to pronounce that acronym. Again, the building envelope that we were working with was trying to stay again completely out of the 50-foot wetland buffer, trying to minimize any impact on the 100-foot wetlands buffer, and to stay as far away from the riverfront area as we possibly could. And to that end, I met with the board, with the commission a month or two ago, and we talked about an alternatives analysis relative to this application. And I was a little bit taken aback, but by the request, because but in the case of what we're proposing, we did take steps to take us through an alternates analysis. The alternates analysis, Mitch, if you could bring that folder up. Okay. Let's just start with the cover sheet for a second. And if you can zoom in on the middle of that screen right there. Again, 49B is the, can you just zoom in on the right-hand image? Thank you. As best you can. Okay. The trapezoidal area is lot 49B. The yellow line is the priority habitat area, which kind of splits it almost vertically. And the site that we're proposing to develop any development on the site would be on the northwestern corner of the site. Now, if you can take us to alternate A. Okay. Again, this kind of shows our initial thinking for development on the site. And when we looked at this originally, we as I indicated, we would stay out of the no disturb zone. The NESHAP area, we would stay to the west of the NESHAP area. The we are required by town ordinance to stay 25 foot away from the face. The construction could only be 25 foot from the right of way for Picket Lane. It would have to be 15 feet from the northern property line. And unfortunately, we have a high point on the property on the northwestern corner of the property, just above that 105-foot dimension. That is I guess it would be the high point on the lot. And our thought was to develop a site for the home, for the single family home, within the my original thinking was to go in for a 80 by 105 foot area, which would have been 10% of the lot area, which is entirely within the 200 foot and 100-foot riverfront area. Just to do the nature of the site, these were deemed intermittent streams, they basically took the entire site and put it in the riverfront area. But the 100-foot riverfront area is what's depicted in this light blue line that goes around the 50 by 50 foot building area that was originally we were thinking about for alternate A. This is pretty much what I talked to the commission about initially as our initial first blush alternate for the project, which would have impacted what we were initially concerned about was the 100-foot buffer area, but then we looked at the 100-foot riverfront area, and the shaded area is the area that this alternate impacts the riverfront area. The first portion of this exhibit is a recap table of the 5 alternates that we looked at, and they kind of they progress from alternate A to alternate E. Mitch, can you drop back to the recap table, which is the second sheet? Okay. Okay. Well, alternate A, just to describe it a little better, it was the development proposed was 80 by 105 feet. The area clearing was 8,400 square feet. The riverfront impact, in this case, it was the impact in the area between 100 and 200 feet was really 2,142 square feet. It was to provide a building of about 50 by 50, or building area 50 by 50, a 2,500 square foot area. And this was our initial thinking. From that point, we started to see what we could do to reduce the scale of the project. That was the next alternate, and that was to bring the scope and the scale of the site down a little bit, and the impacts down. And if we look at Exhibit B, or alternate B, quickly. There we go. I'll try to be try not to be redundant, but Exhibit B, what we did is we narrowed the footprint along the width of the disturbance along Picket Lane, and deepened it, and reduced the size of the building in order to accommodate that, and saw what would occur under that alternate. And basically, it did help a little bit. If we can go back to the table again, what it happened, it reduced the amount of riverfront area. Square footage, the area clearing didn't change, but we were able to reduce the impact on the riverfront area by about 10%. And we dropped the size, the objective is this, to reduce the impact to the riverfront area. The next iteration that we took to try to, again, to reduce the impact to the riverfront area, we changed it. Again, we reduced the area and changed the orientation of the construction area. We went from a 70 by 100 to a 60 by 120, but we slanted the area to correspond to the orientation of the two intermittent streams. That took the site area of clearing down to 7,200 square foot. It dropped the riverfront, the 200 foot riverfront impact down to 631 square feet. And we were only able to do that by reducing the size of the building footprint to 2,200 square foot. We can just show what that looked like. Mitch, if you can go to C.
Mitch, thanks for all your clicking back and forth.
He's doing great. He's doing great.
No
Well,
problem.
he had me do it for him in his office originally. So basically what we did is we kind of canted the whole construction area so that it slants as it relates to Picket Lane. Instead of being perpendicular, the building was now be on an angle. So looking at alternates, and this was the next step, and with the willing assistance of the applicants, the Barazanos, they were willing to start looking at reducing the size of the footprint of a house that they might be able to build on this property. So this one dropped it to, I think, 2,200 square feet. But again, again, the constraints on this are basically are being created by the, if you can see the two radii that come from the intermittent streams, which show that intermittent area, it kind of pinches the site in the middle, right where you would want to construct. And this is basically the best location for a building on the property. It's uplands. It's not on top of the hill, which is likely to have some rock ledge underneath it. We are looking for a house that can be built on a slope, because this property will slope about 8 feet across its from front to back. After looking at this, we said, well, what more can we do to reduce the impact on the riverfront area to the next level possible, and still stay within the constraints that to try to be responsive to being able to build a single family house from new property owners. If we can look at alternate D, Mitch, I again appreciate it.
The table or the plan?
Let's go to the alternate picture so we can kind of, and then I'll just take can go either way. We'll probably be able to look at the picture now that I look at it. Okay, so what we tried to do is narrow the footprint of the building even more so. And then we had what we did is we took the limit of disturbance and we took it just at the riverfront area. In other words, we moved the limit of disturbance so it was not totally outside of the 100-foot riverfront area, and it's all the disturbance is now in the 200-foot riverfront area. Okay, again, it necessitated narrowing the building a little bit, but this is starting to create more constraints. We don't have much construction room on either side of the proposed structure. Okay. With that, and keeping with the same building limits. At this point, I kind of went back to the Barisanos and said, well, it's getting pretty tight. What other options do we have? And they said, well, maybe we don't have to go with a 2-car garage. And I said, well, okay, that's pretty good. Let's see what we could do with a 1-car garage. And we were able to get a building footprint with a one car garage in onto the site and have it being fairly regular. We went with a 50-foot wide by 100 feet deep area. I'll go over the areas for the last 2 developments in a second, but basically this took us entirely outside of the 100-foot riverfront area, and it minimizes the amount of intrusion into the 100-foot wetlands buffer. Basically, but we only have about let's call it about 10 feet on either side actually 9 feet on either side of the building for access, for construction access, which is problematic to some extent, but it's almost doable, barely doable, but it's doable with some unique construction techniques. Taking it, that's kind of, where we ended up with the presentation at this point. If you can take me back to the exhibit again, the table, Mitch. Basically, where we ended up with the alternate analysis is we ended up with a very tight 5,000 square foot area of clearing, 0 impact to the 200-foot riverfront area. It doesn't impact at all the 100-foot riverfront area. Presents a building which is a footprint of a building which is 32 by 62, which is about 2,000 square foot. So what we were able to do with this was to reduce the impact to the riverfront area to the what I consider to be the minimum regulatory allowance of 5,000 square foot. Basically, when the regulations went into effect for in the state for intermittent streams, prior lots were allowed 5,000 square foot of development without restriction in the riverfront areas. But since this lot was developed after 1996, that no longer is valid. But each of the last 2 alternatives, in addition to minimizing or actually eliminating all disturbance to the 100-foot riverfront, it actually reduces the disturbance to the buffer area from approximately 1,400 square feet in the alternate D down to 100 to 860 square foot within the wetlands buffer, 100-foot wetlands buffer for wetlands buffer for Exhibit E. There are conditions for compliance that we're asking you to review tonight, and what our feelings are is that the alternate E, which is we've presented, meets the conditions for compliance with no significant impacts with the no significant adverse impact standard as follows. 100 foot of undisturbed vegetation is provided to intermittent streams with that alternative. No temporary impacts to the 100-foot of riverfront area for linear on-site utilities are proposed. the stormwater management standards are not applicable to single-family homes. They don't need to be considered. Wildlife habitat adjacent to the limited impact area will not adversely be affected. We're not impacting the area as shown on the, we are over 40, we're 40 feet away from the estimated limits of the NASHAP area. And there are no vernal pools have been identified in the project area. And the project includes erosion and sediment control measures. In other words, we're going to be providing a silt fence to attenuate any non-point source pollution. So that's kind of in general what we've done. We have a set of pictures that kind of show that. I don't know. If start with photo 1. I just had to take a picture of my house. That's the house that I built 2021. And this commission was kind enough to grant me approval to do that. And that was before you were enforcing the intermittent stream portion of the Greenfield regulations. Taking it to photo 2. This is the northern intermittent stream that comes off of the culvert. If you go back to 1 for a second, photo 1, just for a second. This is a rock ledge that comes across, and then at the base of the rock ledge, if we go to photo 2 again, what you're looking at on the left-hand side of the picture is the base of the rock ledge, which is down just below my house. Now we're continuing south along Pickett Lane to go to photo 3. Looking down Pickett Lane, you can see Pickett Lane goes grades down and away from the north end of the site. Just behind the fire hydrant on screen to the left is the high point on the proposed on the new lot 49B. Let's see, photo 4. Okay, this is looking north on Pickett Lane. That's the same hydrant from the opposite direction. The boundary marker that's shown in green there in front, that was the limits that are shown on the alternates. This was the original frontage along the front of the property. And this is this point is 120 feet from the northern property line. Okay, there you can see the rise in the hill above it, and if you can look at photo 5, this kind of goes in the opposite direction. Now this takes you down further south. This is that same flag, green flag, looking in the southern direction. This is the intermittent stream below the property. And the intermittent stream is, let's say, about 180 feet from this point here. Yeah, that's about right. So that's the intermittent stream is the just above the. Hopefully, you can see. Mitch, if you can point it with your pointer, it would help me. That's the intermittent stream down below. Okay, photo 6. Okay, this is looking in from the fire hydrant. There's a green stake in the foreground, which is a little hard to see. There, that is the location that the town placed the sewer system. They along Picket Lane, they were kind enough to put 2 drop-offs to a gravity force main or a force main for the sanitary sewer at this location. Okay, photo 7. Which is the next one. Thank you, Mitch. You've been really good. Again, this is that was the location of the takeoff for the sanitary sewer. That is that's a stake 40 feet from the northern property line here. The high point of sight is at the base of the tree, right just up over the left-hand shoulder of that stake in the middle of the high ground in there, Mitch, to the left a little bit and higher. That's the high point of the site, right up in there. The proposed house would be constructed trying to orient myself. Bear with me a second.
To the right of that, I believe.
To the right, just to the right of that. So the driveway would start right about where that log is, the one of the logs, and the house would be the driveway would go out and towards the back, and the house would be about where you have your marker now. From there and to the left about 32 feet. Right 32 feet, I'm sorry. Okay, and you can see, now I'll take you to the photograph. Eight. This is looking in from the street onto the site in about where the left-hand side of the house would be that large evergreen right there. That would be where the left-hand corner, or the right-hand corner of the house would be, thereabouts, and the house would continue back in that area. Okay. And then 8, I guess we can switch you to the backside of the property, looking towards Picket Lane, which is 9. Photograph 9 is probably standing in the living room looking towards Picket Lane. That's kind of what you'd be looking at if you were looking out one of the living room windows towards Picket Lane. Photograph 10. This would be maybe from the back of the garage looking towards Picket Lane. Okay. I'm just trying to give you an orientation of where the house is on site in general. This is the back corner. This is this would be the rear portion of the developed area, looking. This is 11. Yeah, this is looking towards that tree that I said was going to be on the right-hand corner of the house. So the house would be built between that tree and, but it'll be built on this slope. Okay. Next one is 10. That was 11. 12 is, this is the southeastern corner, looking, let's see, looking towards Picket Lane. No, I'm sorry, not looking towards Picket, the southeast corner, looking across the back of the property. Okay. Next one. This is that same tree from another side looking towards Picket Lane, that's the two-family house that's across the street. Again, the house would be up where the trees are to the right on the upper right-hand side of this picture on the top of the slope. The point that you're looking at here would be the low point of the disturbed area on the site. And I think there might be one more. 14, this is looking at that same tree that was in that corner looking 14, and that's looking down towards Millbrook. Again, this is the non-disturbed portion of the site beyond this tree. None of this would be disturbed beyond here. So that was all riverfront area that's within the 100 foot, but outside the 200 foot. Okay, so that kind of shows.
All right.
I kind of took you through what we're looking at, and I kind of probably went overboard, but I'd like to answer any questions or try to be responsive to the will of the commission.
All right, thank you. Thanks for presenting all those alternatives and getting us oriented on site here. Yeah, so I guess just for the commissioners, so because this was local ordinance NOI and Wetlands Protection Act RDA, in the end we'll have to have two different motions. For the local ordinance NOI, we'll have to determine, whether to issue an order of conditions or not. And then for the Wetlands Protection Act RDA, we will either do a positive or negative determination for the Wetlands Protection Act purposes. So that's how this is going to have to end up eventually.
Does that also mean that we didn't get comments from DEP? Because it's just an RDA under the State Wetlands Protection Act?
Yeah.
Right, we didn't get any comments.
Yeah.
And we're not going to? Is that?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, not going to, because this is just our local NOI process.
Gotcha.
Which
Sometimes there's
haven't,
comments on RDAs, but
Yeah.
not this thing.
yeah, and we haven't done a ton of these where it's like RDA, Wetlands Protection Act, and so I just wanted to just point that out. So does anyone have any questions they want to start off with?
I have so many. I'm so sorry.
Dive
John,
into it.
That was such a good presentation, John. I really appreciate that. I know you put a lot of work into that. I know we talked about this last time you were here. And that was a really excellent alternatives analysis. I guess before I get into my questions, I wanted to know first, I just wanted you to confirm what's your preferred alternatives just for you and the landowners. Like, what is your personal preferred alternatives?
Well, to be quite honest, I think I took it too far.
We love that. No, don't worry. We're like that.
No, I from my perspective, after meeting with you guys the last time, I was trying to take everything you told me seriously, and I tried to minimize the impact on the riverfront area to a point where I consider it almost a non-issue. I felt we met all the criteria. There might be some minor issues here and there, but I felt we addressed the concerns to the spirit of the regulations. But in doing so, I made it a hard to construct building. So to be quite honest, if the board was willing, or the commission were willing, we would like to get a little bit more area on both the north and the south side of the, let's call it the area disturbance, to bring the 5,000 square feet up to 1,500 to 6,500 square feet. And that would be kind of what I consider to be an ideal construction envelope for the project as we're looking at.
And that was alternative A?
No, that's, I'll take you back. Mitch, could you pull one more thing up for us?
John, can I jump in? Hi guys, I'm Drew's dad. I actually I met a couple of you, I think you guys a couple of years ago, my other son's house, Alex, on Log Plain Road. But just not to interrupt, but option A would be the preference to answer your question. Right. Like, so if that's, I mean, if that's an option, that would be the preferred option. Right? Because that's the biggest footprint. But we can go from there. I just wanted to, you asked.
Well, there are a lot of other constraints that the board has that they have to deal with, though.
I understand.
I know,
but John, she asked.
That's why I didn't offer that.
Right. She asked what the preference was. Obviously, option A would be the preference.
Well,
but,
obviously, I'd like to be able to develop the whole site, but
right,
you know, can't do that.
Just throwing that in there. That's all.
You know, but from the perspective of a buildable property, Don,
yeah,
and board members, and we agreed on this ahead of time, Don, that we were going to talk about this.
Yeah,
and I agree. You know, I'd like to have the whole property, and that's what I asked for the first time I went before.
I know. But if you have if you have an option A, then it's got to be. It actually is it actually an option or not? I guess that's what I'm saying.
You can ask them.
John. Well, yeah. John, you were about to walk us through.
Yep.
I was
the 6,500.
What I consider to be the minimal practical building envelope is what I would be asking for. And Don, I apologize for that, but that's what we discussed this earlier. That's why I said I would present it if the board was amenable to it. So.
Oh yeah, no.
I sound like they were going to be amenable to some different point, and I figured the right point would be the one that we agreed to.
I just didn't want to go
to that end. To that end, let me have Mitch show you what we talked about, if I may.
I just didn't want to go directly to the worst option. That's all.
No, I will. We went to the worst option because that's a buildable option, okay. And they could say yes, that's the only thing we want to give you. But you know, they sound like they were going to be amenable. Could you go to the site plan package, site plan drawings? And there's a folder called site plan drawings. There's a folder called 12. I should have said 1213. Must have been dyslexic when I got that. There's a folder that says revised for 1212.
Oh yeah, in the folder.
Yeah, open the let's see, which is the right one. In site plan showing, the right third one. That's the one. Okay, what I felt was could be equally acceptable to the commission based on the discussions we had, but it requires a little bit of a leap of faith. The leap of faith being that that complies with all of the criteria for their they're saying that this has no adverse impact. We would respectfully ask for a additional 5 foot area to the north of the original the exit area. Let's call it alternate E, which takes us in this direction, which takes us to the north, closer to the top of the bank. This just makes grading easier on the north side of the home and into the bank. And then on the south side, we would ask for 10 feet, which just gives us a better access for construction around the house. And the reason we feel would be comfortable asking for this is because the additional area that we were requesting in this request provides an average 100-foot site perimeter riverfront area. In other words, if you take all the area around the developed site, we are an average of 100 feet rather than we do impact it into the 100 feet in some places, but we give back in other places. So we're an average of 100 feet, which is, you know, I felt was a reasonable thing to, without getting other environmental experts involved, to determine that we're averaging it, and we're still staying within outside the 100 foot for the average
Mm.
development. And that was kind of what, we thought we would ask for if the board was amenable to it. I mean, this represents 1,500 square feet more of disturbance beyond the 5,000, which is, the minimum, what I consider, like I said, minimum regulatory, and it's the limit that the board may or may not want further environmental research on. So, and that's really relative to development close to this NESHAP boundary. And you can see where on the right-hand side of, you see on this development, the easternmost development area is about 40 to 50 feet, probably looks like about 50 feet from the NESHAP area. So, it's we're well away from the estimated boundary for
rare species,
rare species, rare
but you
species.
still have the other wildlife habitat component, which we haven't gotten into yet.
What is that?
I did want to ask you about the wetland line. So when we're talking about, 5 feet here and 30 feet there, it's pretty important that the wetland line is exact. And you did mention that the wetland was delineated when the property was subdivided, but I don't see wetland flags on the plans. I just see the estimated wetland boundary. So I was just curious when the wetland delineation was done and if it's still valid.
It was done and it was developed, and these are from those plans. These drawings are from the plans. I can give you a drawing with the boundaries on them. I mean, with the flags on them. The flags are no longer there. I've kind of walked out around the site. Mitchell also asked for this, and there is a letter from Wendell Smith, who did the wetlands delineation for us.
Wordsmith.
Wendell Smith, yes. Did I get that right, or is it Wordsmith?
His name's Wordsmith. Yeah.
It was like almost 3 years ago. I think it expires in April, so it's still valid.
Okay.
It's still valid. And these are accurate from those boundaries, Kristen?
So I think that your plans are showing, all right, 2 questions. One, this looks like fantastic contour elevations, and I'm curious if you either had a surveyor come out there and do a land survey, or if this is LiDAR. And
it's LiDAR.
Where are your wetland flags?
The LiDAR it's indicated on the drawings on the site plan.
Okay, and then why aren't our wetland flags shown? If you had a wetland delineation, do we have wetland flags? They're
not now. They're not there now, but they're not on this.
That's fine, but the spatial data, I don't understand why you're showing GIS instead of GPS, I guess. Does that make sense? Like, why are you showing the state data if you have a real wetland line?
Well, because it was on the original drawing that was presented to the board. This is the same drawing that you approved, or the commission approved. The background drawing for this package is the same drawing they approved when they approved the original.
Who approved it?
The Conservation Commission of Greenfield.
In 2019.
2000 and when was it? 2019, pretty much. I guess it was 19, 20, 21. Do you want to go to the RDA that was approved?
If it was an RDA, it would have a wetland line, right?
The wetlands line is on there. It's just not visible on
that plan.
Yeah,
Can we get a plan with the actual wetland delineation on it? I guess is my question.
Kristen, right there, Mitch, on the very right side, it says wetland delineation. Is that it?
That's it.
It would be really helpful, I guess, in my opinion, to see the proposed layout with the actual wetland delineation instead of the estimated.
It's on there. It's the same line. It's on the basis of the same AutoCAD drawing.
But it says GIS line on the plan that
Doesn't.
you just
No, it
had
doesn't.
up.
Doesn't say that.
Metro,
Mm,
I know that the state wetlands layer looks really different from this.
So you're saying, Mitch, you're saying that the state wetlands layer is different from the line that's
Right,
on
like I
the
think this is
proposed
what was
plan?
delineated.
Yeah, this drawing was presented, this is also part of the package, but can you zoom in on those? Mitch? There's the wetlands flag lines. I just didn't call this up as a screen, that's all.
Ah,
Yeah,
I'm having a hard time figuring out what the actual wetland line is and what the buffer lines are on this.
Well,
I
you
can
gotta
see,
you gotta zoom so
yeah.
you can,
I can see that's the
think it's-
stream, I think, but then those triangles are the
think-
30-foot and 50-foot or 50-foot and 100-foot. I don't know what this is.
I can't really show you. The, if you see where the NESHAP line comes through?
Yeah.
Right?
That's this, I think.
Right there, yeah.
Yep. Right where it crosses the first wetlands line towards our property. See it?
Kind of like north of where the word locust is.
No, just wait, right,
Oh,
stop,
so the
stop.
wetland line, yeah.
You see the B19 or B18? Go start from the culvert. Culvert on the
Good.
left-hand side.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah,
It's
Chris-
so blurry.
25, 50, 100.
No,
Sorry.
down by the culvert. See the culvert?
I can see the culvert, yeah, and I
See
can
all
see
the-
like
You see
a
those are the
southern
wetland
bank and
flag
a
numbers.
northern bank.
They're just, it's too bad. On the
yeah,
left,
sorry,
Flag names.
sorry, if I could interrupt for a second. Mitch, could you zoom out and then zoom in again by clicking on the plus sign? I think that'll make it less
Make it
blurry.
better.
Oh, that's a good call, Travis. I mean, I know that's a culvert.
yeah,
I
it's
know
way
that's the wetland line, but I can't, yeah, that's a lot better.
Oh, thank
Okay,
you,
now I can
thank
see
you.
an
That's
A
so
line and a
much
B
better.
line.
now you
Okay.
can see the B line is the line that we have.
Okay,
Yeah,
and then
The stream is
just-
the stream is centered on the swale that's just to the,
yeah,
just
and
to
then
the north
what
of the
are
B line.
these triangle buffers?
That was what was on the plan before, which indicated those are the fifth. There's a non-deserved zone is the first one. It says NDZ. The
Yeah.
next one is a 50-foot buffer, and the next one's a 100-foot buffer.
Okay, so we got
They're labeled right here.
25-foot, 50-foot, and 100-foot. Okay, all
25
right.
is a non-disturbed zone.
And so are
25
those
foot-
on the plan with the actual lot layout?
Go back, it's the same ones. I copied the same plan. The only thing you're
Yeah,
not seeing
Chris-
is you're not seeing a detailed wetlands line on that plan because the scale wasn't right.
But
Yeah.
that's,
That on these.
Kristen, I was looking
Okay.
at the plan while we were looking at that, and I
yeah.
think it is the exact same line. It
So I
just
guess
doesn't
I was
have-
thrown off because it had the GIS wetland boundary and I was like, why are we showing GIS? That's not relevant. We only want to see,
It was presented
reference
the last
data.
time. It was presented the last time, Kristen. And I didn't want to modify the drawing.
so we don't have wetland flags on this,
We had wetlands flag when it was originally done in 3
but
years
it's
ago.
not on this plan is what I'm saying, John. So like, that's what's confusing.
It's not on this plan, but it's on another plan that was submitted with it.
So I guess I'm trying to ask,
Kristen, are you saying you want to see this resubmitted with?
I'm not saying that
wetlands
I want to
flags
see a
on it?
resubmit. I'm not
Okay.
trying to create more drama. I'm just saying, how do
Okay.
I know that this lot layout is based on the actual wetland flags if we can't see the actual wetland flags on this
Because
plan? How
because
do
I
know that it's
certified to
actually
that
based on
effect.
those flags?
Kristen, I certified to that effect by sealing this drawing, and it said in the notes. But it's also on another drawing with the same notes.
I will say that I am not comfortable closing a project without seeing wetland flags on a project plan.
Well, Well, it's on one of the plans. Can you show her that plan?
Yeah, but we want to see it like around the house.
Yeah, it's not, I'm not comfortable closing on a project without seeing
But
the
those
actual
flags don't exist. What's the
delineation
purpose?
on the
What's the
same.
purpose of putting numbers on a flag that don't exist?
It's a delineation that shows the actual GPS distance from the project limit of work. And this doesn't show those data. So that's, I'm uncomfortable personally, just, that was my very first question right off the bat.
Well, I can go on there and label them. That's not an issue.
Oh, no, I'm not
that's
saying in the
only one.
field. John, I'm
I
not
can-
saying in the field. I'm saying
No,
on
I
the
can
plan.
label them on the plan. That's
If
not an
it's-
issue. If
It's
that's
just
all
a
you want.
CAD layer, then that you should just turn on the CAD layer and then resubmit
I
it.
can't. For this purpose, I can't. I don't have that CAD. I can't manipulate the CAD layer in a way that you'd like me to. But I can add those wetlands flag designations to those points on this plan.
Do you have a shapefile? Can you add like a GIS shapefile to this plan? If you can't use CAD, can you use ArcGIS?
I just, this is right now, this plan is not an AutoCAD plan, it's a PDF. And that was the way it was presented to the town. It's not that's, for the purposes, for our purposes, it's to scale and it's everything else. It's, the wetlands line is delineated and I can give you that CAD file. I mean, that file is available. I gave a copy of the wetlands delineation with flag numbers on another submission as part of the package. And I think we saw that 2 minutes ago.
So you have surveyed wetland data.
Well, the original engineer does. I don't have it. I have the CAD file for it.
Is that clear enough on the wetlands flag? I mean, it sounds, so I guess it sounds like
Can you
there
look at
there
the-
was a wetlands delineation that was done, and that was submitted with a prior project, and these are lines drawn from those same data, but they're not showing the wetlands flag numbers on this
plan. I can add the wetlands flag number
Yeah.
on this plan, which are going to be the same numbers that are on the other plan, because they're the same. It's the same line.
But if you're just gonna geo-rectify it on a PDF, that's not accurate. I think you need to have the CAD data. I mean, if we're talking
I do
about,
have the CAD. I have the CAD data. That was the basis of this drawing. It's just not labeled
then
on
why
that
can't
layer.
you show it?
I
You
don't
just said
have
you
that.
can't show it in CAD.
Yes, I can. I can show it in CAD, but it's not a CAD file. You're not getting a CAD file,
Clearly, this is a PDF, but it
and you're not getting
created from a CAD
And I
file.
don't. It was created from a CAD file. That's correct.
And you have the spatial data of the wetland line.
And I gave you another drawing that shows the wetlands flagging on it, which is
Can't
the
you
same.
just overlay that in the same program so that it can just
No,
be
they
another
don't
layer that
overlay.
just
They don't
went on?
overlay because they're different. They're not. It's not. They don't overlay.
Can you get
I
the wetland line?
I don't know if I can get it to overlay. If I can, I will. But I think the best thing I can do is make sure that the wetlands and overlaying is just going to be 2 lines on top of another with the wetland flag numbers on.
Are you saying that the data on the CAD file and the data on the wetland line are in different projections, or like, why can't they overlay? Are they in different?
I think what Kristen is asking is, I think we're assuming that this plan we're looking at right now was probably created in CAD, and therefore
And
it
brought
could be
in- and brought
it could
in-
be
and brought into as a PDF.
yeah. And so I think she's saying if you opened up that original CAD document and you also have the CAD file for the wetlands line,
Or a shapefile?
or a shapefile or something, and then exporting it again as a PDF after adding it to the original CAD file again.
And I mean, sometimes I understand wetland lines collected in a, projection that doesn't line up with whatever projection you set up your CAD
It's
file.
just, it's,
But
Kristen,
you
it's
can-
the same, it's the same file. The scaling factors, I don't know all the scaling factors that the original files were done on. All I have is the line files. So in other words, the nomenclature that are there are not, they're not tagged. They're just annotations to a line.
So
Okay?
it doesn't have a georeference. Got it. Okay.
As far as I
Gotcha.
know. So that's what
Gotcha.
I don't have a georeference. to it.
Yeah, I gotcha. I'm with you now. Okay.
That's why I say I couldn't give you exactly what.
They're off in space. They're not tied in. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Right. So I couldn't be sure that I got them. All I'm going to do is be moving them in place.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
they might-
you'd be
they might
geo-rectifying
a little
them.
bit
Yeah, I
anyway.
get it. Yeah.
And AutoCAD is so exact. And then there's a scaling factor that you
Yeah.
have full annotations.
Mhm.
So they're scaled differently for a 20 scale drawing to a 40 scale drawing. It's quite complicated these days.
It sounds like we got that figured out then. Kristen, you said you had multiple questions, and I think that
Yes,
was
that
one.
was
Well,
my
that
first
was
question
one so
because I
far.
we're talking about like square feet difference in the project layout. And so my first question was
Yeah,
obviously like, well, where's the wetland line and how do we know where the buffer zone is if there aren't wetland flags on this? But my second,
Let me say the
Wait,
the wetlands lines are as accurate as the original wetlands delineation that was done and approved originally. But
but they're not on this plan, so we don't know what they
They
are.
they are on this plan because they're the same lines that were on the plan. I'm representing that they're the same lines that were on the original plan. They didn't move, and I didn't move them. I
But
know
we
it.
don't know where they are because
think-
they're not actually referenced on this plan.
Yes, they are. If you read the notes.
I think Erica had a question.
Well, I just wanted to go back to, I think that was actually Kristen's second question, because I wanted to go back to the first one, which was, which alternative analysis is this? Can we throw up the list of the five and which one is this?
This is E. This is E.
This is E. This is E. Okay. But E was only 5,000 square feet, wasn't it? So
This is only 5,000 square feet.
Yeah, I think what he was saying was
I thought it was 6,500.
No,
I think he was.
this is the one I submitted with. That was the 5,000 square foot site plan that I submitted. I submitted which is E. When asked whether I would like anything more, I gave you the one that showed a 1,500 square foot addition to the limits.
Okay,
Which
so
is-
you'd like something between the C and D, is what you're saying, basically.
No, it's good. It's actually between between the C and E.
Or-
Let's put it between the C and E. Let's put it that way.
I guess it's just a little
Or-
confusing for us because the alternative that you would like is not one of the alternatives in the
Alternatives,
alternative
yeah.
analysis.
Well, let's put it this way. You asked me if there was something, which one would we like? Well, I have a plan. The plan exists, it's there. I just didn't submit it. It's in the file. It's ready to be submitted, but I wasn't going to submit something that I didn't think the board was of interest to give us permission for. And that's why I did it in 2 steps. But Mitch, can I ask you to do one more favor for me one more time? Go back to
sure.
go back to the 212 site plan package and go to the enlarged site plan. Yep. Okay, this is the site plan which shows what I was asking for, which showed the additional areas to the north and south with a 1,500 square foot 6,500 square foot footprint.
So is that the extra areas of the shaded areas?
That's correct.
or like little teeny dots or whatever?
Yes, that's exactly it. Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so okay,
Essentially, this is
Okay.
alternative F.
okay.
Right, that would be F. That would be F, yes.
Is there a
Okay.
difference? So I know that you talked a lot about the difference in square foot impact. But did we really talk about the difference in cut and fill? Because I feel like while you're reducing the footprint with, going sequentially from alternatives A through F, apparently, I feel like just looking at the grade, if the house was pushed further to the north, even though you'd impact more outer riverfront area on that intermittent stream to the north, you may have less cut and fill. And I'm just curious if you looked at that in your alternatives analyses.
So all the houses had basements, and we didn't want to cut into the hill any more than we had to. That was the rationale for it. Because there could be rock ledge in the hill.
Right. I guess I'm just curious if,
We know for a fact that the northern wall of the house that was finally laid out here we're able to dig down 8 feet without any disturbance.
Mhm.
So
It
we
just
know we
seems
didn't have any, we did some exploratory excavations in the area of the house, and we know we don't have any rock ledge on the northern wall of the house.
Gotcha. It just seems like the slope, just based on your LiDAR data, it looks like, and I don't think I can.
Well, they're
still
planning
the
for a
amounts,
walkout, they're planning for a walkout basement.
Okay. But I'm just
So
saying,
they're
like, if
taking advantage, they're taking advantage of the the slope, Kristen.
Mhm. But it just seems like what I'm saying is it slopes more kind of like where, well, I wish I could use a mouse, but if you're looking at your alternative A, I guess, if as you go kind of further to the southeast, the slope gets steeper and your alternatives B, D, E, F kind of go more towards those directions, towards the southeast, which looks
Well,
like
that
a
was, I
steeper
was,
slope. So I'm just curious, even though your footprint's shrinking, if your cut and fill is getting bigger because you're getting more into that slope. Does that make sense? So like you're getting further away from the riverfront, but you're getting deeper into the cut and fill. I was just wondering if that was something that you examined or.
well, the best way to answer it is why don't we look at the alternates A or one of the other alternates, but I think you're misinterpreting where I moved the house. The house didn't, the house has always been in that same footprint. It just squeezed, made it narrower.
Oh, it wasn't slanting? I thought you were like
Well, the
kind of
slanting was to
angling
keep
it
it out
towards
of
the southeast.
look where the house is here. The house, look at the south corner of the house, the south side of the house. It doesn't really move.
Mhm.
It just gets, not really, there's not much movement in the house at all. It just gets narrower.
Yeah, that corner, that southeast corner looks like it stays in about the same spot.
Oh, okay.
They just get narrower.
Just
The
kind of
house
rotates
got
a
narrower
little.
Gotcha.
and turned a little bit. That's it.
Gotcha.
And
I
it
guess
Well, I
wouldn't
guess
A
that was
does.
my only comment that I was just
it
thinking
wouldn't have
like,
made much difference in the excavation at all,
Yeah.
because we weren't going into the hill any further.
gotcha. Well, I just want to say I appreciate all the effort to stay out of the locally jurisdictional outer riverfront.
Thank you, Chris.
And I assume
Um,
that you're also filing with Heritage, right? I know that you're outside the priority habitat boundary, but the
No,
parcel is,
we're not.
you're intersecting, but the property is in priority habitat. And if you're building on a property that intersects with Pri-Hab, you have to file with them.
Not, I don't think that's the case. It's only at your discretion.
Pretty sure that is actually the case. And you're in priority and estimated, which is jurisdictional under the Wetlands Protection Act. So even though you're not intersecting with the polygon, you should file a.
If it's less than 5,000 square, if it's 5,000 square feet or less, they don't ask you to. That's the way I read the regulations. And that's why I dropped it to 5,000 square feet.
I don't remember seeing that in the MISA exemptions, but
I was doing that as relative to the riverfront area requirements.
yeah, MISA is a different regulation. So we're talking about the Greenfield ordinance and the Wetlands Protection Act, but the Mass Endangered Species Act is a different regulation, and you might want to just
How is that applicable?
because the property line intersects with priority and estimated habitat. And you're developing a property that intersects with priority and estimated habitat. So just a reminder that
Those
you are
developers
going to be,
outside of it?
you are going to be, yeah, you're going to be under the MISA umbrella. But I will just, it's not a huge filing fee. It's like $300 and they'll probably not give you a hard time, but just wanted to remind you of that.
I wasn't aware of that.
And I looked at the FEMA map and I think you're outside of bordering land subject to flood, but I didn't see a BLSF line on the plan either. And that would be something that I wouldn't mind seeing.
I think it's that dotted line, the flood hazard line on the right-hand side of that same drawing you're looking at, the sketch.
And ND something? No, what? Which
To the
one?
right of the NESAP line, that dotted line.
Though it's not
The one
labeled,
over to
so I
the
don't
one
know.
the far right, that's the flood, was the flood zone that was delineated previous to that. Didn't make any sense to me, but that's what was shown on the previous maps.
Which line we're talking about?
She's talking about the
The-
flood
the-
hazard line.
Yeah, yeah, so bordering land subject to flood is a jurisdictional resource area under the Wetlands Protection Act and also under the ordinance. And it coincides with the FEMA flood 100-year flood. So if that's what you're saying is that dash line, you know, that is jurisdictional and should be labeled on the plan.
Okay,
I think it might have been labeled on a different plan. I mean, we've looked at so many plans tonight, but I think
it may
I
have been,
think
it may
on,
have been, I couldn't, I don't remember specifically labeling it, so if it wasn't labeled
okay.
on prior drawings, I may have to add it.
All right. Um,
I guess
think-
I'll just jump in and say,
sure.
I honestly don't have an issue with any of these alternatives. I want to see better plans. I don't know what we're looking at and I just want to see better plans, but I don't know. I'll just start there and see what the other commissioners have to say.
If we're gonna do the 6,500, which was option F, which we didn't really see, can you just tell us what all the impacts are for the 6,500?
Like looking
Or-
at the alternatives analysis table, what would the numbers be on that table? Is that what
Yeah.
you're asking?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
It's gonna be 1,500 square feet in the riverfront area. And I can,
Mitch, can we see that chart again, the list again, please?
The table.
Yeah, yeah.
And just to be clear, where it says riverfront area, it's talking about the 100 to 200 foot
that's
riverfront
correct.
area.
It's all in riverfront area, but the 100, it would be 1,500 square foot additional in
So the
Um,
outer riverfront.
the outer riverfront, yes. That's the reason.
But that one would also that one would also go into
Be the inner, because
the
it's over
inner
two.
slightly. Yeah. Um I guess I just want to add that once we get to a point where we have kind of exhausted some questions, since this is a public hearing for an NOI for
Yeah, you might want to get the public
Greenfield
involved.
purposes, we'll do public comments as well.
Okay.
But I just want to make sure we, kind of address all of our concerns and stuff here first.
I had a
the most
question.
part. Yeah, go for it.
Christian, do you know where it says that about MISA? I think I was going off of this where it says activities within the habitat, not that's on a parcel.
Yeah, actually, that's been an issue that's been gone back and forth for 20 years, since about 2005. It's in my opinion, it's better safe than sorry to file if your property intersects with Prihab, even though your project might not intersect with Prihab. But again, our jurisdiction is estimated habitat, not priority habitat, so defer to the applicant to do whatever they want. I can't tell them what to do, but if it were me, I would just file, and I don't expect any significant issues. It's a single family house, you're out of the Prihab boundary, it's not a huge fee. Better safe than sorry. That would be my advice.
Yeah,
And if I had to guess, if I had to guess, I would be guessing, and don't hold me to this, you're probably at the outer edge of wood turtle habitat.
But it indicates that the activity is not, within, and the project is not. The site is within.
The
but not the
parcel
project.
is, and so wildlife move. It's not like a plant, plants don't move, plants don't have legs, but wildlife do. And so priority habitat is not necessarily like the end all be all. It's just an estimated boundary of the habitat for that species. And if I had to guess, I would guess, and don't ask me specifically because I don't work for Heritage, but I would suspect that that's for wood turtles. And I would suspect that the western side of that parcel might be the outer range of the wood turtle habitat. So for me, I would cover my butt and file them a courtesy notice.
Is that something we would want to wait for, a determination from them?
Again, I think our jurisdiction ends at estimated habitat.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I had a question about
When did this regulation go into effect, Kristen, do you know? The
around
Mesa?
2005.
Oh, we didn't do it the last time.
Yeah, I mean, well, they got
And my
teeth
whole
in
site's
2000.
on it.
Misa's been around before that, but that's when they really got their teeth, because that's pretty much when I got hired at my job. So
Okay.
I had a question about if you could just talk a little about the construction sequence and like erosion controls and is there going to be like
The
a
impact
large fill pile or anything like that on site?
The intent was that any there's no room for any excess material on site. It's all, any excess material is going to have to be taken off site. Pretty much. And
Okay.
that's, the owner knows that.
I think it showed you we're going to do silt fencing around the outside.
Silt fencing around the entire perimeter, disturbed area on the border of whichever border we end up with, along both the northern southern perimeter, northern and southern border and the eastern border,
Mhm.
and it'll extend to Picket Lane.
Okay. And I think it said that like digging for utilities would all be that would all be outside that outside the inner riverfront.
Outside the inner level, yes.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be, everything's in riverfront area, but everything is
Yeah,
outside the inner area.
Yeah. Kristen and Erica, do you have any other comments before I open it up to public comment? We can always come back with more questions if we have more.
yeah, I was just gonna ask about permanent monumentation, if you wanted to just throw that out to the commission for thoughts. In terms of like, you know, once a property is sold, the property owner can kind of do whatever they want with their property, right? Even if a section of it is within riverfront. So would there be any kind of like monumentation to demarcate the limits of the outer 200-foot riverfront or whatever? 25-foot no disturb zone.
Have you ever required that of anybody? So this is
Yeah.
typically
Yeah.
done?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And it
Yeah.
can be anything from like, boulders
Boulders.
to a tree line or rebar, which I
And
personally think is pretty ugly.
Mm.
And whether or not that would be in line with the landowner's kind of vision. And anyways, we don't have to decide tonight, just something to think about and something to discuss with the group.
Yeah, and I guess I'll add that we have required that for, I know I've seen it personally for the 200-foot riverfront boundary. I'm not sure if we've required that for like the 100-foot, inner riverfront boundary.
And it could be like bluebird boxes or something. I don't know, but since we have the landowners here, and if that's something the commission wants to really like drive home so that there's no future lawn mowing or swing set encroachment or garden, whatever. I don't know, just maybe we can have a group discussion about that.
Yeah, and I guess just to kind of add to that, we've had other developments in and around riverfront area where they later ended up cutting down plants into the riverfront area and mowing,
Yeah, mowing.
beyond the originally disturbed area. And when that's happened, we've had to send enforcement orders and have like restoration plantings done. So I think it's good to talk about that and let people know that when they have a property in and around riverfront area, the riverfront area itself is a resource area, and any impacts on that resource area need to be permitted through the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, I had a project recently where the landowner was doing like a, restoration, kind of like historic restoration, and they really wanted to incorporate old farm equipment into their demarcation, their permanent boundary markers. So they wanted, like, I don't know, like old farm equipment type stuff instead of ugly boulders or whatever. It's just, I don't know. I just wanted to throw that out there in case the landowner was like, oh, boulders don't really jive with our aesthetic or something. Maybe they've got an idea.
You want to talk to my property? You want to talk to one of my property people? Maybe they're online tonight. They got pallets all the way down the property line, way down to the water.
Yeah, and Kristen, I mean, I almost think like the marking the boundary, I mean, it's kind of tough because everything is riverfront,
Yeah, I know.
and anything outside of what's already disturbed is going to be, an impact on riverfront area. So
Yeah,
not
that's
sure
why I was
there's-
thinking, like, do you want to talk to the commission about where we want to do that? If
Yeah,
we
I'm not
want to
sure
do that
there's-
and what we want to impose, if anything, and
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Erica, do you have any comments on that?
I mean, the commission's going to be out
Not right now.
I would say the commission's going to be out to look at the silt fence, and when it's laid out, they'll have a, and if they can indicate that's the limit of disturbance. I mean, and there's four corners for that. I mean, that's,
right. But John, it comes down to more like later, when
I'll have them,
we're all done
talk
and
to
you
the
got
owner
your,
about putting a reinforcing rod at those 4 points. That's all. If that's what it's going to take. I mean, I mean, there's 4 points. They're pretty definitive. There's a limited disturbance that's shown here on the plan.
yeah, but once we issue our certificate of compliance, people want to put a swing set out there. They cut a couple trees down. They put a garden out there. They cut their lawn. It just, migrates, that boundary migrates, and that's their property, so that it doesn't seem like that would be an awkward thing to, it's an intuitive thing. It's not like
Well,
you know,
that's why I asked you,
restriction.
how are you gonna, how are you gonna mark it? I wouldn't, I didn't know how
That's
you could mark it.
exactly what we're, yeah.
But you don't have a guideline for that yet, do you?
Let's talk, well, because it's flexible. We don't want to just say, gotta put boulders or rebar out there, rebar might be in danger to children. Whatever, it's an open, maybe they want bluebird boxes. Maybe they want like a tree line.
I
Boulders
think it's
are a
going to
good
be a
thing, but
tree. I
maybe
think it's
there
going to
aren't
be a tree
boulders.
line anyway.
Exactly. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's flexible, is all I'm saying. And it's
Okay.
something we should just think about early before coming back with enforcement later.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions before I get to public comments? Okay. Thanks everyone who's stuck around this long in our meeting and waiting on things later in our meeting. We'll get there. So yeah, as I said, this is a notice of intent for the Greenfield wetlands ordinance. So that requires a public comment period. So at this time, I'll go ahead and open 8:41 p.m. Open this project to public comments. And if anyone does have a comment, feel free to unmute yourself. We did actually have a comment in the chat, so I'll just read that out. Just a reminder to people that generally we're not supposed to use the chat function because the chat is outside of the public record. So I'll read what is in chat to read it into the public record. And that was, looks like the northwest corner may be best for a driveway location and driveway runoff near the intermittent stream side. Do these alternatives include driveway locations, vehicle runoff, and de-icer may be the most impactful to the wetland long-term? So just wanted to read that out. Any other public comments? All right, hearing none, close the public comment period, 8:42 p.m. All right, so essentially to move forward, as I said at the beginning, for the Wetlands Protection Act, we would need to either issue a negative or positive determination for this project. And then also for the Greenfield ordinance, we would need to either continue this hearing if we felt like we didn't have enough information, or close the hearing and issue an order of conditions. So I don't know if anyone had any further comments or questions, or do we feel like we have enough? Kristen, do you feel like you have enough information?
I feel like the plans are missing information that I need to see. I need to see the wetland line. I need to see the bordering land subject to flood line. I need to see them labeled. I need to see where the project layout is in reference to those. And I'm confused. I mean, like, I know that there's on a different plan, but it's not on the plan that we're looking at with the building layout. So I don't.
Kristen, can I ask Mitchell to bring up the plan that he brought up before, which had the wetlands delineation on it?
But does that plan also have the project limit of work on it overlaid?
Just can I just ask him to do that?
Is that this one?
No,
No,
it's the one I gave you, the wetlands delineation I gave you when we were just talking about Ward's work.
I think, was it in the RDA?
Mm,
Oh, there it was. I saw it, that last folder that you were just in. bottom right.
Yeah, right.
Right.
bottom.
Kristen? Really the only difference in plan that you're seeing, can you see and can you zoom in on that one for a second? And I'll just kind of just let her know that there's really no difference in the drawings. But can you see the wetlands flagging line under the B flag line on the drawing that you're looking at?
I see it, yes.
Okay. You see how those are circles on that line and with the numbers?
I see those,
Those
yes.
at those points, if those were added to the plan, would it be any different? I mean, it's the same basic plan without those numbers on it. It's the same plan. All I would have to do is get those numbers and add them to the plan that you have in front of you.
I've said my piece. I would
Well,
like
I
to
just
hear
don't
if any
understand
other
what you're looking for.
commissioners, not John, but any other commissioners have a different opinion, I would be like really happy to hear about it from you guys.
I mean, I don't understand what I have this plan and they're the same lines, but I can add the same lines to the site plan.
I understand. I
I
really
mean, if you're looking to
understand.
see it physically,
Yes, that's what I'm asking, to see it physically on the plan with the limit of disturbance on the same plan, not two different plans. Personally, that's just my opinion.
I guess I'm on the fence about it. I'm not, it's hard to, I mean, I can understand. It sounds like, I mean, I feel like I'm reading between the lines and understanding that it's the same data used on both.
it's not
Just
shown
doesn't-
on one plan. It's not shown on the
Just
plan that
doesn't
she's
have
concerned about.
the
It's
flag
shown on one of the
numbers.
plans. It's the same line. It just
I-
doesn't. And
I disagree. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be argumentative, John, but I know this situation and I know that it's not an accurate line that you have on the other plan. Because that's why
how
you
do you
didn't
know
show it.
that? How do you know it? You don't know how
Because
it's
that's why you
created.
didn't show it. That's why it's not on the other plan.
I just didn't label it. That's all. They're there. They're so small on the plan. They didn't come in at the same scale. They're in
Then
a
it shouldn't be a heavy lift.
they're in a different scale. That's all. They're there. They're just too small to see.
I think they're in a different projection and that's why they're not there, but
I don't understand what you
I think when we're talking about a difference in square feet for different alternatives, it's really critical to see the actual wetland flags on the plan.
Okay, so
I'm going to
what-
say that the lines are still there. The only thing that's not shown is the annotation for those lines.
But
Okay,
the
so
lines
are
aren't shown.
The line is shown. It's on the plan.
It's a GIS layer. It's not the actual delineation. It's just a center line for the stream and a GIS estimated wetland line on the southern line of the
No,
property.
no. Can you show where the wetlands line is on both plans? Mitch, can you help me there? They're the same line.
yeah, I guess Kristen, when I was looking back and forth between the two, and I to me they looked like the exact same line. So I didn't think that one was like the Mass DEP estimated wetlands and one was the delineated. I thought they were the same line.
Really? Then why was the GIS estimated wetland line on the other plan?
I guess I didn't see where it said GIS estimated.
Oh, it's the biggest dash line on the whole plan.
It says GIS wetland boundary, and that comes off of the maps that are available that were publicly brought
Oh,
in.
man.
But
There's
why
so
would you
many-
have that line if you have an actual field delineated line?
Because
Yes.
it was on the original plan that was submitted to the town. I didn't want to change plans. For the same reason you're asking why it's there. You didn't ask it, whoever was here didn't ask it the last time because there was a wetlands boundary and that on there. I can take it off. That's
Well,
easy to take. That's easy to take off. Then you don't see it.
Mitch, can you go back to the plan that shows the lot, the limit of work?
I'm trying to find the
Oh,
in my
sorry, Travis, are
folders.
you navigating or is Mitch?
No,
no, it's
Mitch,
me.
Mitch is, but I'm looking too myself. Yeah.
Who mean this one?
Whichever alternative.
Okay, just use the,
Yeah.
not the enlarged one, the site plan. The enlarged plan doesn't show it as in, yeah, that, I can take that other thing off the drawing. That doesn't even need to be there.
See, I just see a center line for the intermittent stream. I don't see a wetland line.
Go just to the south of the intermittent stream where the 100-foot
Yeah.
buffer line
There's
points
a
to.
very thin line. You see where it says existing 18-inch outlet at the top left? Just above that, there's a solid line that in the legend says, I just saw it, wetland boundary.
That's the wetlands.
And I
boundary.
think that's the same line that's on that other plan. Do you see that? Like under the intermittent stream one, it kind of blends in with the. Do you see what I'm talking about?
Can you see, go where it's on the plan that you're looking at on screen? The upper, where it says intermittent stream, the upper one.
Oh, I see it.
Okay, do you see where it's pointing to the riverfront from the stream, intermittent stream? You see the riverfront line? Where the 100-foot riverfront line points to? And now you see just to the south of that pointer. Mitch, go up and point where it says intermittent stream, please, so you can get on the same page. Go up a little higher, right there. You see that little arrow that points to that stream?
Yep.
Right there. Just to the south of that line, of that pointer, there are 2 pointers pointing to the wetlands line. That is the wetlands line, right there.
The line that's not labeled.
That's not labeled. It's the 100-foot buffer. It's the 150-foot buffer, and there's a non-disturbed zone all pointing to that line. And that is the wetlands line, and it's labeled over in the legend.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's labeled in the legend as
Okay, it's
wetlands
labeled in the
line.
legend, but it's so hard
Right.
to like.
There's
I'm
so
sorry,
many lines on
There's
here.
so
It's
many
hard
Yeah,
to see.
it's just. ugh.
So it could be color, maybe color coded.
I
They
mean,
don't allow you to do that.
Where's the BLSF? Like, it's just
But
really hard to read this plan.
that's why I was offering that was the line Chris, I was offering to annotate that with the wetlands flagging. It makes it a little clearer. Because it's the same line I was talking
Well,
about.
if I'm the only one that has a hard time with this plan, I don't want to slow down this process. So I was just opining, and apparently I'm the only one that has an issue with this. So let's just move forward.
Okay. So just to move on a little bit, but maybe Mitch, keep this up for a second. I think. Okay, so I guess my question kind of towards the other commissioners is, whether we felt like we had enough information tonight or not, and if we didn't, then I think we should at least talk about which alternatives would be acceptable. So if they did have to, give us an updated plan or, whatever, at least there'd be that clarification. Or if we feel like certain alternatives are acceptable and we do have enough information, then we could close the public hearing and go from there. So I don't know. I think Kristen you said that you didn't think you'd have a problem with any of the alternatives. I don't know if I don't want to put words in your mouth, but. And Mitch, I know you looked into this a bit and you sent us some information, so I don't know if you have anything to
Yeah,
add.
let's talk about the stuff that Mitch sent. I actually have that pulled up too, because that was really helpful. Thank you so much for doing that, Mitch.
Yeah, it's just the cheat sheet.
Yeah.
Mm.
I love that you've been doing that lately. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. So where are we?
Picket lane.
Right. So I just went through the alternatives and compared them to the standards, and all of them meet this standard for 10%. Um, Standard for no disturbance in the first 100 feet. D and E meet that. So I think I didn't see any issues with D or E.
But it sounds like F would have proposed work in the
I didn't
first
really look
100
at
feet.
F wasn't in the table.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
wait.
yeah.
But
John, can you just remind us, E had a 1-car garage and D had a 2-car garage? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, I think that was it. It was a 2-car garage. The D was a little bigger garage.
Okay.
What, and so since F is gonna be a little bit bigger than that, is it gonna have, but I thought on the plan it only had a single car.
We weren't gonna change we agreed that the footprint of the building was what they pretty much agreed to, so our client agreed to. So I asked for it to get better construction access around the site of the building that were proposing.
Can I
So
ask
it
about
was more to facilitate construction.
Okay.
Which, I mean, if and it did take us beyond the the 1,500 square, it took us 1,500 square foot into the 200-foot zone, but I felt it was because of where we were getting it, and that it was going to be an average of 100 foot throughout the entire. It was kind of a discretionary decision on the part of the board for that. So I thought that the 1,500 square foot would be reasonable, a reasonable request. That's all. That's why I
Can-
kind of put.
I want to ask about that in that additional area, 5 extra feet on the north and 10 on the south or whatever. After construct, you said it's mainly for construction purposes. After construction,
Well, if it's
those-
graded,
those-
it's going to be. If it's going to grade it, it's going to be silted and loam, so it's going to be lawn area at that point.
and none of that would be impervious surface.
None of that would be impervious surface. That's correct. It's just going to be lawn area at that point.
What about like, have you considered, I mean, some of the topography is a little bit steeper, especially to the southeast. And have you considered like roof runoff and drain spouts and driveway runoff and all of that?
Very,
Have
yeah,
that
we
be directed and managed?
have to be dispersed of, and it'll probably drain down to the same place everywhere everything else drains to, which is the riverfront. I mean, we're talking about 1,000 square foot of driveway pavement maybe, and what 3,000 square foot of house, so total of 3,000 square foot of site area.
I'm honestly okay with that. I don't think that it's going to be a huge increase in
I mean,
thermal loading, but
I mean, typically you put spill blocks down and you don't wash out the grass. I mean, if there's
that's
going to be
kind of what I'm
grass
getting
around
at.
the
As long as
houses,
there's no like soil migration, and significant thermal loading, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, well,
Erosion down the hill.
we're putting
Yeah.
pretty much it's gonna run to. It's not going to be a real steep slope where the 4 corners of the house are. And I imagine there's going to be spill blocks and some sort of grass around it. I mean, it's typically you're going to go to a grassy lawn area. They don't have a lot of lawn area around the house as it is, so
So
it'll be spill blocks to lawn area, which I think will mitigate any erosion.
filling and gulling, yeah. And then as long as the inner riparian zone is vegetated, that should reduce the thermal loading impact.
Mhm.
As long as there's no soil migration and gullying, rilling from significant erosion.
No more than it's eroding now. I've been walking that site for about 2 years now, and it's very, very little ground cover. It's a lot of leaves and everything else on the ground. So
Yeah, I guess I feel like alternative F with the extra little work area. Seems acceptable to me with the average 100-foot area. I guess I'm just wondering while we're discussing if the commissioners, if there are any like special conditions that they think would need to be applied to this project. I mean, we can talk about that once we get to that point too, but just like while we're discussing, we haven't really mentioned anything other than, just like our standard conditions for having, erosion control and things like that.
Well, I brought up whether or not the commission wanted to talk about, and maybe before you actually close the hearing, maybe talk about with the future landowners permanent demarcation.
Mm. That might, yeah, because we would sort of maybe like to guide. I mean, we had somebody who ended up putting in non-native plants as their boundary, and we kind of went, no. So I just to sort of guide them a little bit before they go out and do something, and then we have to say, no, that's not what.
Yeah, and like I said before, just make sure it's kind of in line with maybe what their aesthetic is. I don't know. I mean, basically, we want to make sure that you don't encroach on the area that would be jurisdictional, accidentally, but we don't want to put rebar in your backyard. That's, if you've got kids, and that's not safe. So this is your chance to opine if you have an opinion, I guess. Boulders are an idea because you can't get your mower past it. It's just a visual marker. And then maybe when you sell your property, if you ever sell your property, the next landowner gets it, that's kind of a visual marker. We don't want you to go back there and put a garden, cut all the trees, that kind of thing.
I think that's a question for Drew and Jackie.
Yeah. I'm looking at you, but you can't tell because we're on a Zoom screen.
For us. Yeah, I mean, I haven't thought about that at all, but and John and I haven't talked about that, but I'm not really sure, to be honest.
I mean, bluebird boxes are cool, but they're not cheap. You might have boulders on site. I don't know what the field conditions are like. That might be free.
Yeah.
Stuff to think about is like cost maybe too. If you have to import boulders, would that be pricey? I don't know. Maybe John has another site that he's developing that has lots of boulders and that'll be no problem. I don't know. But, if there's anything that you're really opposed to or really, I don't know. Bluebird boxes are cool because then you get bluebirds. Until you get house sparrows the next year.
I guess anything but the rebar, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't really have too much of an opinion on it at the moment, unfortunately. But yeah.
What about like vegetation or like a vegetative boundary or?
I mean, it's like the boundary's like right on the woods there, so I
I
don't
know
know.
if they just don't
I don't
cut
know
the
what
trees
you would
down.
vegetate it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it just like leave the trees and then, I don't know, is that enough or do we have to have it like permanently marked?
I mean, we don't have to have it permanently marked, at all. Like I guess that's our discretion if we think that would be a condition that would be needed to prevent, future encroachments.
That is a consideration though, if they sell the property and, that's what happens. People forget about that stuff. It's not attached to the deed necessarily,
Mhm.
or not something that people read.
Mhm.
Because it's not like a restriction. It's just a local bylaw or ordinance.
Yeah. Mhm. I guess for me personally, I don't feel like it needs to have something marking it. Like I definitely understand the why it would be good, but I don't know if I feel like it necessarily needs it. I don't know. Erica?
Maybe if the tree line is there, and that's the limit, that's the area, maybe like John was saying, just put pins in the corners just so that, you know, just to remind people that, straight line there and I don't know. I mean, because the trees could change, if trees die and whatever, then, it could change.
Yeah.
you know.
And I guess I don't want to minimize this, but I also want to say that this is riverfront for an intermittent stream too.
Right, yeah.
So it's
Local.
not, yeah, so it's not, I don't want to say it's not as important as riverfront on a perennial stream, but
You got to look at where all the drainage water comes from to go in these streams from off-site. So it's basically Picket Lane drainage, and all the driveways and everything else on Picket Lane, because none of them have any stormwater management requirements on the whole line. So you're getting all that into those culverts anyway. So that's what you're seeing. And it's really just rainwater for the most part.
Well, as we get
A
into
little
climate
spring water.
change,
It's my neighbor's basement draining. It's my basement going into the culvert, So, I mean, that's what's going into that culvert. That's what's going into that stream. So,
scary world, scary world. It's like that on my street too, John. It's awful. It's getting worse and worse.
it's
Which
just
is-
what's draining there. I mean, it is a stream.
All the more reason why it's important to think about it proactively instead of retroactively.
Well, yep, it should have been done 10, 20 years ago,
30, 40 years.
30
ago.
years ago.
Yeah.
40 years ago.
I know, I keep thinking about things in shorter terms too. We're old.
Mhm.
We're playing catch up too quickly, Kristen.
So, I don't know, Travis, just summarize where we're at. I'm starting to get
Okay.
tired.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
still have more on our agenda tonight too. So where we are right now, we either need to close this public hearing or continue it to the next meeting. And we could issue an order of conditions tonight, or we could put that off until the next meeting. We usually don't put it off until the next meeting, but we could, because it just has to be done within 21 days, and that would be 14 days from now. And then we also need to vote on whether this is a negative or positive determination for a Wetlands Protection Act. And so for Wetlands Protection Act, this is only in like the very edge of the 100-foot buffer to the wetland, like the edges of this property. So I think the best way to do this is if we do feel like we have enough information for the local ordinance NOI, close the public hearing, and then we can decide whether if we think it's a simple order of conditions to issue, we could go ahead and do that. And then I think we should do the determination for Wetlands Protection Act after that. That way there's the public hearing part all wrapped up, and then the Wetlands Protection Act determination after that. So I think, I mean, I've said that I feel like the alternative F, I guess we're calling it, seems reasonable, and I think Kristen did. I don't know, Erica.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have an issue with the alternatives. It was my
Mm.
whole beef was with the plans because I was confused about
Yeah.
that whole stuff, but
Okay. We don't need to go into that again. but-
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, does anyone want a motion to close the public hearing then? And
Sure, I'll motion to close the public hearing for the development on Picket Lane.
I'll second
Single
that.
housing.
I don't know
Alright.
where my agenda is. Here it is.
all right, so we have a motion to close the public hearing. Seconded. Any other discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote to close the public hearing. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
I
I'm also an aye, so the public hearing is closed. And so now we could issue an order of conditions. Or if we want to do that at the next meeting, we could do that as well.
Should we do that at the next meeting since it is late and we do have another hearing on the agenda? And I don't know if we want to have more discussion on whether we want to do like any monumentation or I don't know.
I think that's fine. It's
I'll just,
oh, go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah. what do you
sorry,
think?
next meeting's already looking pretty busy.
Oh,
If we want to try to finish it.
okay.
Unfortunately, we seem to be getting into a
Yeah.
busy season
Yep.
here.
It is getting to be spring. Is our next hearing a big one or a little one?
Oh, tonight, you mean?
Yeah.
It's
Tonight
an RDA on,
is a Mass DOT
yeah.
RDA.
Well, do we have like a group decision on about monumentation, about deterring future encroachment on the local riverfront, outer riverfront or inner riverfront, I guess. Sorry, I'm starting to get tired. The
Yeah, I know.
local jurisdictional inner riverfront permanent monumentation.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to wait. I know Mitch said we have more stuff at the next meeting, but I think if we all in the MACC handbook, it specifically says, I remember it saying, it's a good idea to wait until the next meeting so all of your ideas can sink in before you issue your order of conditions. So it's not a problem to do that. We usually don't, but I think it might make sense. I think we can all, think about it, and I think we can do it pretty quick at the next meeting.
Isn't the
That's how
hearing
I feel.
closed though? How does that work?
Yeah, but you can close the public hearing, but you don't have to issue. We
Okay.
wouldn't have a public hearing next meeting. It would only be
Oh, okay.
motion to issue an order of conditions,
Gotcha.
and then so there wouldn't be any. The hearing is closed.
Okay.
It would only be the issuing of order of conditions. And we have to do that within 21 days, right?
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
So, okay. I think we've decided we'll do that at the next meeting.
All right, I'm making notes in
Okay.
my calendar for the next one so I don't forget because
Okay.
probably will.
All right, John. So sorry to string you along a little more, but sounds like at our next meeting we'll probably do the order of conditions so we can get to the rest of our agenda tonight. And then so you're free to join that meeting or not.
And what
Is there-
about the
is there-
RDA though?
Is the RDA going to be handled?
Yes, so
Okay.
that wraps up that part of the RDA or of the NOI, sorry. So then also there's the RDA for the Wetlands Protection Act. So we either need to issue sorry. Either a negative determination or a positive determination. So to me, I think it would be a motion to make a negative determination that the work is within the buffer zone as defined by regulations, but will not alter an area subject to protection under the act. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of a notice of intent.
Which we've already
Subject.
filed.
Well, you filed a notice of intent for the ordinance, but not
For the
for
riverfront.
Right.
but not for the Wetlands Protection Act. That was only for the ordinance.
Yeah, I agree, Travis. I feel like that's like the Wetlands Protection Act component of this is kind of a no-brainer. I felt like it was all just really local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So is
would we
that a
want to
motion?
add?
You're a natural second.
We also say, I mean, negative under the act, but positive under the ordinance.
what box is that?
What's the,
Just because, I mean, he is going through the NOI process
Mm.
under the ordinance. Let's see what box.
Oh, it would be you're saying there's a positive determination.
relative to riverfront.
for the ordinance. Okay, yeah, so there's a positive determination 5. Motion to make a positive determination that the area and or work described on reference plans and documents is subject to review and approval by the Greenfield Wetlands Protection Ordinance. So that would be a negative determination 3 for saying does not require a notice of intent for Wetlands Protection Act, but a positive determination 5 that it is subject to review and approval by the Greenfield Wetlands Protection Ordinance. So I guess I'm motioning that.
Which they've
I'm-
already filed, right?
which they already did, yeah.
There it is, so, yeah.
Okay, so I'm making that motion, negative determination type 3 within buffer zone will not alter an area subject to protection under the act. Therefore, does not require the filing of a notice of intent for the Wetlands Protection Act, but also positive determination type 5, motion to make positive determination that the area and or work described on the reference plans and documents is subject to review and approval by the Greenfield Wetlands Protection Ordinance. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second,
Okay. Any discussion on that? Any special conditions that need to be added other than any special
I
conditions
feel like
for
special
wetlands
conditions
protection?
are all
Act?
gonna be under local,
that's, yeah, it's gonna be under the NOI, I think.
Yeah.
other than regular boilerplate sedimentation, erosion control, right?
Yeah, erosion control. Which we've already seen on the plan for erosion control. Okay, if there are if no further discussion, we can vote on that motion. Hearing no further discussion, we'll vote for negative determination for Wetlands Protection Act, positive determination for the ordinance. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
I,
all right, and I am also an aye. So that wraps up the project for tonight. So
Travis,
yes.
would you be so kind as to just explain to me and to my clients what we're waiting for the next meeting for, and what we
Yes.
expect at that next meeting, just briefly?
Yep. So at the next meeting,
They're anxious to begin hiring contractors and getting started on their project. So
I understand. So at the next meeting, we have 21 days to issue an order of conditions after the closing of a public hearing. And so at the next meeting, essentially we'll reconvene, motion to issue an order of conditions, talk about special conditions, and vote on that. And then that would be sent to you after that meeting. So it should be the good part about doing
can
it.
can they feel good about being able to build a house on the property?
congratulations.
I mean that's
You and
what
Jackie.
they want to make sure that they can build a home there. They're anxious to build a home in Greenfield, and I was hoping they would feel good tonight about building a home.
I think you should feel good tonight.
Yeah.
We just need to talk about we each need to think about whether we want to, if we want to require monuments and things like that, and we'll think about that in our heads, and then when we reconvene we'll
and I assume we're invited back to the meeting to hear
yes.
those conditions.
Yep, that will be next that will be our next meeting, February 27th by Zoom at 6:30 p.m.
Okay, hopefully we're early on
We'll
the
see you
agenda.
there.
I'd like to be early,
I
but
think you should.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a fair request.
I think the ones that get carried over are usually
Yeah.
higher on.
All right, I would appreciate that. I gotta get my beauty sleep.
Would that go under though if the public hearing's
I need a lot of
closed already?
that. All right, thank you very much.
I'm not sure. All right. Thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you, John.
Thank you.
Right.
All right.
Thank you, Drew and Jackie.
We'll figure that out, Mitch.
Okay.
We'll figure out where to put it. Okay. So next on our agenda is our last public meeting for this meeting. It is a request for determination of applicability, pedestrian curb ramps and sidewalk reconstruction at the intersection of Deerfield Street and Petty Plain Road. On the agenda, it says the purpose of this project is to facilitate improvements of streets to sidewalk access ramps necessary to serve individuals with disabilities and enhance safety under the Americans with Disabilities Act. The work is primarily within the existing Mass DOT right-of-way and involves primarily the reconstruction to conform to current ADA requirements. The proposed design includes pavement milling and overlay, pedestrian curb ramps, and sidewalk reconstruction. And do we have someone here from Mass DOT to talk about this project?
Yeah, so I'm not from Mass DOT. My name's Chris Lime from Howard Stein Hudson. We were the engineering consultant for Mass DOT. I believe on the line with me is Courtney Walker from Mass DOT's Wetlands Division, and then I believe also Joe from Mass DOT, I believe, is one of the project managers on this project. Am I able to share my? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
Chris.
you should be.
Oh,
You should be
yeah,
able
sorry.
to.
We have Michael Joa, who's another environmental analyst. He's fairly new, so he's shadowing on this one.
Hi, everyone.
All right, welcome everyone. Yeah, Mitch, if you stop sharing, Chris should be able to share. And again, thank you everyone for sticking around so late. Sorry, this is turning into a late meeting here.
No problem. So I figured I'd just walk you quickly through. I'll try to make this short. Just walk you through the project. Some of the lines I want to call out. This first line, you guys see my cursor, correct?
Yes.
This first line here, this is the 100-foot inner riverfront area. This other red line is the 200-foot riverfront area, and then this magenta line here is the approximate limit of bordering lands of flooding. All these lands were determined using the Mass Mapper GIS wetland resource wetlands lines. So as you said, this project is a sidewalk pedestrian curb ramp reconstruction project at the intersection of Petty Plain Road and Deerfield Street. It's basically the reconstruction of existing ramps at the Petty Plain Road crossing. So this crossing right here has existing sidewalk and pedestrian curb ramps that are just being updated for ADA compliancy. And then the crossing across Greenfield Street is actually being moved. It can be seen, the existing one here can be seen at the corner. It's being moved back from the corner because under new guidelines, we don't allow for what we call an apex ramp, which is basically a ramp that leads in two directions of crossing. So the ramp itself is being moved back roughly, I think it's 20 feet back on Deerfield Street to make it more of a mid-block crossing here. But again, it is an area where there is already existing sidewalk. All the work is being proposed within the 200-foot riverfront area, but now within the 100-foot area. It is also within the bordering lands of flooding. I do want to note that the work being proposed in the bordering lands of flooding is not proposing to raise any existing grades. So that's just want to make that clear. It is also resulting in 76 square feet of impervious surface. That's being taken at the back of sidewalk on this side. Currently, the sidewalk is 4.5 feet. To make ADA compliancy, we need 5. So we're stealing basically half a foot on the back of the sidewalk here to make it a 5-foot sidewalk. There's also 193 square feet of temporary impacts, which is just basically loam and seeding at the back of sidewalks. We're proposing sediment control barriers, which you can see in the back of grading here and the back of grading here. It's these hay bales. This hay bale line you can see here, along with proposed silt sacks in all the catch basins. Also proposed for this project is a small amount of mill and overlay, which is being done at this new crossing here. You can see this is the this dotted line here is a proposed mill and overlay boundary, and then here's it on this side. And we're also proposing rectangular flashing beacons at the mid-block crossing. So you can see one here, and there's also one at the back of the ramp here. I also want to note that this project is not located within any other resource areas. For example, it's not located in priority habitat or outstanding resource water areas. It's just located within the riverfront area and the bordering land subject to flooding. I don't know if Courtney, if you have
Okay.
anything else you'd want to add.
Yeah, Chris, I would just also note that the proposed work is considered an exempt minor activity within, buffer zone riverfront area under 310 CMR 10.2 2B 2P for pavement repair, resurfacing, and reclamation of existing roadways.
Does that include widening though?
Oh yeah, provided that it does not include widening. I noticed that we did include that in the application. Maybe that was just maybe at least for the rest of the work is exempt, but not the sidewalk.
Yeah, that's correct. The for most of the work is exempt. The only part that is
Right.
not exempt is that 76 square feet of added impervious surface.
Right.
Going from 4.5 to 5 foot sidewalk.
Sorry, I forgot to note that.
So just to clarify, the only thing that's out of the footprint is that 5 feet at the back of everything else is already
Correct. Yes.
there.
Correct. You can see the grayed outline here is the existing
Okay.
back sidewalk, and this darker black line is the new proposed back of sidewalk on this section. If you look at all the other corners, you can see that the black lines line up with the existing
Okay.
gray lines.
Okay.
I
It's a
had a
little,
question about the, oops, sorry, Travis.
no, go ahead.
You sure?
Mhm.
I feel like I'm such a
No,
honest
go ahead.
dog. I just had a question. So, about the work that's in the BLSF, you're not doing any subgrade work, correct? It's all just above surface.
Yes, correct. Yeah, correct. So basically, they're just reconstructing the existing sidewalks that are already there, and just making the transitions ADA compliant for the pedestrian curb ramps.
Okay. Thank you.
And you're gonna do some tree trimming, but you're not gonna actually remove any trees, right?
Correct. Yeah. So there's a tree that's located. It's hard to see it here, but it's located right here at the back of sidewalk, and we're just trimming it just so it doesn't block the proposed rectangular flashing beacon. But no, we are not removing the tree. We're actually proposing tree protection around that tree.
Can you remind us again what the total square foot increase is for the whole project within jurisdiction?
Yeah. So it's 76 square feet of added impervious surface.
Okay. Seems pretty minor to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going back
guess-
to what, we just heard from the applicant about 10.02. Courtney, I think, was saying 10.02 for minor buffer zone activities. It's not buffer zone, but it does sound kind of minor to me, just saying.
Yeah, I guess when I was looking at this project, it seems I feel like personally there's a bit of a conflict between like the letter of the law and it's like technically it seems like it should be an NOI because it's adding extra impervious area to riverfront area and bordering land subject to flooding, but it's also such a minor increase that is that really necessary?
I don't want to dive
I
into
don't think so.
10.58 right now, but I feel like there has to be something in there about this must, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. What do you
So
think, Travis?
I guess
That's so weird.
I guess what it comes down to, I think, is our discretion on whether we think this will, alter the area in a way that would lead to negative impacts.
Okay, so my thoughts. One,
Yeah.
there are no trees to be removed, correct? So that's not going to be decreasing any shade, which is one of my biggest concerns whenever there's an increase in impervious surface area. Because we like to keep, thermal loading mitigated. And two, additional stormwater runoff. Is 76 square feet gonna make a significant impact to down gradient receiving waters? In your guys' opinion?
Are you asking the applicant?
No, I'm asking the commission.
Oh, okay.
I feel like no reduction in shade, so how does increasing the square footage of impervious surface area impact down gradient receiving waters, other than maybe like, velocity increase, thermal loading, that kind of stuff.
Mm.
I don't really see a 76 square foot increase being significant impact personally, but maybe
Yeah.
I'm
No.
tired and I'm open to ideas, so.
Erica, did you have a comment?
Not about no, not about
Oh,
that.
okay. Do you have a comment about something else?
Well, I just, it's written, where you're taking those 5 feet is it already grass right now? Is that what it says on the on the plan there?
Yeah,
Or
so
is it-
where we're taking the half foot is really just between this gray line and this black line. So there's I say
What's
grass
there now?
gravel. It's like
Okay.
grass or gravel. I can let me see. I pull this up. It's really just this section back here. So it's just this section along here. Again,
We're still seeing the plan if you're trying to show us something
oh,
else.
you're still seeing the plan? Sorry, let me see if I can share new here. Can you see it now?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, so that's kind of what I was wondering, if
Oh.
this is like a green belt kind of thing, okay.
Yeah, it's just this, and
Okay.
to be honest, there could be concrete sidewalk underneath there, but the surveyor
Yeah.
does not dig into the land. So I mean, it could have been just grass grown over. He's just taking the edge of what he sees as grass, basically.
No.
Is this applicable to the mass stormwater standards? Like, are you increasing impervious surface area enough that you trigger stormwater issues?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay,
It looks fairly flat, so I can't imagine it would really
yeah,
change the
and I think that
runoff that much.
I think the square footage is below the trigger, so,
Yeah.
And it's on the opposite side of the street from the stream.
Yeah.
it's a good point.
I mean, to play devil's advocate, you don't want every project that comes
Yep.
before you chipping away little by little at riverfront area until there's nothing left. But
No, but
I guess if no one has any immediate comments right now, I don't know, Elizabeth, did you have any comments or? Nope. Okay. I know we do have some members of the public here still, so just see if anyone else has any questions or comments from the public. Okay, not hearing any. Thought I'd just open it up just in case. So I guess I just want to point out, if we did think that this was a negative determination, I think it would be negative determination type 2, which is the work is within an area subject to protection under the act, but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area. Therefore, said work does not require the filing of a notice of intent. or a positive determination type 1 would be the same thing, only that it does alter the area and would need to file a notice of intent.
I feel personally like this doesn't warrant an NOI.
Mhm.
Feels pretty minor to me, but if we wanted to ask for any kind of like, I don't even think we can ask for any plantings because it might be like a line of sight issue for safety.
Yeah, doesn't really seem like a planting area.
I think this is kind of just an open note.
Mm. Do you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll motion to make a negative determination for the Deerfield Street Petty Plain Road intersection, and then I don't remember which number we're supposed to select. Sorry, Travis.
That was the type 2 that I mentioned.
Type 2 negative determination for Petty Plain Road, Deerfield Street intersection improvements.
Second.
All right, so we have a negative determination that was seconded. Any other discussion on that? Any special conditions?
They already mentioned appropriate erosion controls, silt sacks in the stormwater basins. What else can we really do? It's like such a small,
Yeah,
yeah, appropriate erosion controls. How
okay.
long work? How long do you anticipate the construction project to take?
So if all going said, this should be going out to bid for the spring, so it'll be completed this summer. I don't see it being a very long project. Probably think we've done others in the area. I think like once they get the forms up, it's normally like a couple weeks.
All right, any other discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll vote on negative determination type 2 that the work is in an area subject to protection, but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area. Therefore, the work does not require the filing of a notice of intent for the pedestrian curb ramp and sidewalk reconstruction on Deerfield Street and Petty Plain Road. So, Erica.
Aye.
Kristen.
I
All right, I am also an aye. So, yeah, that motion passes and we issue a negative determination.
Thank you very
So,
much.
yeah.
Thank you all for your time.
Yeah,
thanks
thank
for
you.
hanging in so late, guys.
Yeah,
No problem.
Yeah, no
No
worries.
Have a good night.
you
Yeah,
too.
have a good night, everyone.
All right. So, next on our agenda, we are in our other business and enforcement updates section. Miller's Meadow Planting Project. I assume that's Nancy here to talk about that one? Or Mitch, did you have updates to share on that, or?
Hi.
Yeah,
Peter?
I can talk about it as well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, whoever wants to go ahead. Peter, you want to go ahead?
Sure. So let's see. So I guess so I've been working for Green and Greenfield on coming up with a number of ideas for the Miller's Meadow parcel. And over the summer, we started developing an idea of doing a community engagement project that would involve planting doing sort of a forest style restoration planting on the hillside slope adjacent to Coleraine Road. Yeah, and I made a couple drawings of the concept. And most recently, we've been talking with the planning department about possibly including this project as something they might apply for the MVP action grant.
All right.
Yeah, so we did an expression of interest meeting with them, and he really liked the project. He said definitely apply for the grant. So we're just basically trying to put together the final plan. We don't have to get all the details in, but kind of the gist of the project to send to the mayor for approval and to send to FEMA because it's flood zone.
Mhm.
So there's the forest part, there's the meadow part. There's like educational signage you could do about these topics, and there's also an invasive species component to it. A lot of knotweed down there.
Mhm.
But you know, that portion would, put the cost up and it would be likely herbicide right on the Green River. So
Mm.
that was the part that should probably double check. You guys are the, final say. It is commission, it's conservation land. So
Mhm.
want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay. So tonight, um, I guess I'm curious, tonight, do we need to like vote to approve moving forward with this or?
I don't know if we need to vote, but yeah, just to make sure we're all good with each aspect of the project.
Mm.
Just for a description to send to the mayor and to FEMA to start getting approval.
Mhm. And I guess with um like invasive species removal, um that would still, if it's in like a resource area, it would still need like a filing, right? With Wetlands Protection
Right.
Act.
Yeah, that was something that was mentioned at the meeting was to get all the permits in hand before we apply. So it's also um natural heritage.
Mm.
Um I reached out. It seems like if we stick to the planting aspect of it, just because it's a maintained lawn, then we wouldn't have to go through the MISA process.
Mm-hmm.
Um and that could also likely be done with an RDA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like just the planting part, probably an RDA would probably be fine, personally.
And then if the invasive species part, I think they just need a habitat management plan,
Mm.
and then it meets an exemption.
Mm. Okay. But that would still need Wetlands Protection Act filing, like in addition to that. Because
Possibly.
it'd be riverfront. I mean, are we talking like right down to the bank? Like,
Well, I guess it's up to us which areas we want to do.
mm,
Um,
mm,
I'm assuming the Nowie goes down to the bank.
mm,
I don't know if herbicide in riverfront is automatically in Hawaii. Um,
mm.
they did herbicide at that. I mean, it was just cut stem, but it was still herbicide.
At what?
Um, Toby, his name was. I'm forgetting which. It was the invasive
Oh,
species project we were looking at. We were just clearing out some property, some invasives on his property. And
mm,
this whole thing with the stockpiling.
mm. Sorry, was that someone asking a question or was that background noise?
Sorry, that was me sort of just remembering
Oh, okay.
the project.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing something.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I guess other commissioners have questions or comments or anything about this project?
I'm just glad to see something's going to be done with it instead of just a lawn there.
Yeah, I guess I just want to say, like thank you to Green and Greenfield and you guys for pushing this forward. And as you've seen with our meeting tonight, we're so wrapped up with other things that it's hard for us to get to the fun part of trying to manage conservation land. So it really helps out having people who are very excited and willing to take the lead on it.
Agreed. And thank you again for hanging so late.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a feeling that ours would sail by after the last three, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess
So do
I
we
guess,
need, do you need like a letter of support or something, or what are we looking for here?
yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Nancy's shaking her head yes for a letter of support. Oh, you're muted, Nancy. Oh, Nancy, we can't hear you. Sorry, you're muted.
Thank you. I think a letter of support would be fabulous considering you guys manage it and we're going after a grant. We absolutely would need a letter of support from you folks. And hopefully before you're writing, if the actual application for this grant is still a number of months away. And so I'd say you wait until we're clear about the exactly what it's going to be, it would be my personal recommendation.
And then at that point, we would get another update like this, and then we could do a letter of
Right.
support at that
Yeah, at
point.
this point, as Mitch and Peter explained, we need a green light to be able to go to FEMA, and which can take a long time, and of course, the city on board with the general concept, and then we can keep working on the details.
So is that something that Mitch would do? Um,
Are you asking about the FEMA part?
well, about the letter of support, or do we wait? And then Mitch would do, or do we have to vote on anything? I guess I'm asking what.
I guess what I would say is if when we decide to do a letter of support, I think we would vote on it just to, that way it's got the I mean, we could vote, or I could just say like, if there are no objections, we'll send a letter of support, and then that's got the weight of the Conservation Commission behind it.
I
Can we-
think right now, yeah, I was just looking for just initial thoughts. If there's any, parts of the project that you would want to change before I send anything to, the mayor or FEMA.
I guess I'll ask Kristen's question, which is, I assume that all the plants that you'd be planting are native to the county.
Nancy knows the drill.
That's always Kristen's question, so I beat her to that one.
Yeah, I'm all about native species, and make sure we don't introduce any. We got in trouble once at my company a long, long, long time ago for planting a rare species, and don't tell Caro I told you, Nancy, but it was so now I'm always like, make sure it's not listed, because you never know. Yeah.
Well, we're happy to give you a plant list when we're clear, when we get to that point.
I think this is a great project. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is nice.
And
A
then
piece of the project that I'm excited about that Peter is bringing to the table, in which he never seems to talk about it. So if it's okay with you, Peter, I will mention that Peter has a project. It has a company called Youth Climate Action, and it would be, so he would be bringing youth to the project in the summertime to actually implement it, and also to work with the community to get the community involved in planting and maintaining and all of those things. So
That's excellent. Yeah.
I'm excited about
Sounds great.
that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
Can I ask a
Well,
question?
Sure, go ahead.
Hey, this looks awesome. Would you be able to explain more about what's going on here?
Sure. So let's see. So this is sort of conceptual, and so some of this will evolve as we actually put a grant proposal together. But so in this, yeah, okay, yeah. So I have another drawing actually that would also help illustrate this, but essentially based on some conversations we had with the Tworogs and other people who know a lot about this site, and also the way that sort of some of the infrastructure moves through the site, was that we determined that in between pretty much the guardrail along Coleraine Road and where a sewer line passes through the site, kind of at the bottom of the hill, there was maybe a 20 or 30 foot strip. I mean, you know, certain areas there's actually more, but you know how the hill works there. Area, all you know, that whole length of the parcel that they thought would be a fine place to plant trees and things like that. And so basically the concept evolved in that we would plant trees within that section, and then at the foot of the hill we would have another maybe 20 or 30 foot strip where it would be like a meadow planting. And we also thought of it about as maybe like a 3-phase project that we could split, you know, spread out between 2 and 3 years.
Sorry, can I just clarify where,
Sure.
like, what's the closest road if I were to look at this up on a map?
Sure.
Coleraine.
Yeah, so basically just above the trees that are labeled phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, Coleraine Road is right there.
And the section that Peter was talking about with the wildflowers, and you can see it's pink on the drawing, that would be immediately above where the sewer line is, because we cannot put trees there.
I don't know how familiar you are with
I actually
Greenfield.
have this other drawing pulled up. If you want me to share screen, I could put it up there.
Sure, go ahead.
I've got it up on Google Maps too, if that's helpful. It's on the Green River.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just west of downtown.
If you're familiar with Greenfield, if you've been here for a while, it was the old Wedgewood Gardens. I don't know.
What's the closest
here.
cross street? I feel like I'm not finding it.
It's just across from the Rotary where you get to GCC, if you know where.
Oh,
It's
So
just
you're
where
coming
where
back-
Coleraine crosses Green River,
Yeah.
just downstream of that.
So oh, do you want me to briefly describe this drawing?
Sure,
yeah.
go ahead.
Sure. So at the top you can see Coleraine Street. Then labeled C is the sidewalk next to it, B is the guardrail. Then we've a 5-foot buffer that was recommended by, I think, Alan Tworog. Followed by a forest planting that would include canopy trees, and then a forest edge downslope. Then we have a 10-foot buffer with no trees before until you get to the this 30-inch RC sewer interceptor. And then this, so I guess on this drawing I actually proposed a 40-foot meadow planting that would include that 10-foot buffer and then 30 feet downslope onto the flat section. But
Great.
Do you have an idea yet of how this would be maintained?
Sure. Yeah, it would be maintained by, I think it would be maintained primarily by me and the youth I work with, along with volunteers.
Hey, Patricia, I'm sorry, I forget. I can't remember if we asked earlier, but did you state your name for the record?
No, I think I came in a little bit late. It's Patricia O'Neill, and I'm just here to see what a conservation commission meeting is like. I've been meaning to come to one for a while, and yeah, I'm an ecological landscaper myself.
So happy to have your comments. Please join us anytime.
They're very long. These are
Well,
intense.
they not always this long.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an exceptionally long meeting. I usually try to get us out of here by 8 if I have any choice in the matter.
Our last ones have been very short, I think.
Yeah, we
compared
got
to-
lucky recently, but
Well, it's
Yeah.
because everything got delayed.
do we
Yeah.
have any current vacancies or are we all filled up?
Well, we will have vacancies for alternates. So yeah, Patricia, if you ever feel like joining us on a non-voting basis and not required to be at every meeting,
Oh.
you could become an alternate, which basically you would just get to speak up during the discussion when all the commissioners are discussing, and then but you wouldn't be able to vote. That's essentially what that would be.
That sounds like a great flexible possibility.
And
Yeah,
that's how Elizabeth got started, and
Mhm.
she's gonna be a full member later this week, and then we would have an alternate opening at that point.
And that's how I got started too. And I got started like in a month later, I was a member. It was very
Mhm.
fast. So just saying.
Anyway, so if you are interested, feel free to come to a meeting, or you can email Mitch. You can find his email address on the Conservation Commission webpage.
Okay. And I'm also curious about just being able to like follow, like I had no idea sounds like a really cool project. And is it possible to see more about this project or like keep up with its progress or other projects like this? In
It sounds like a
Definitely. So I guess in terms of this project, I guess so if we do get the MVP grant, then we're going to be doing a lot of promotion and engagement work, just sort of building up to having a number of planting events that we're going to, try to draw as many people basically as we can to these events. And so when we get there, we hope you'll join us.
Oh, that's great.
Also, Patty, if you'd like to just talk to me, I'd be happy to talk some more about it in general.
Yeah.
Sort of bigger term dreams and things that we've passed around as ideas.
Yeah, I think I needed to catch up with everything that Green and Greenfield is up to. You guys do so much.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Greenfield's awesome.
Right, we're making connections here. All right. So just so we don't drag this meeting out any longer than it has to be, I think it sounds like we're all cool with this moving forward as is, and at some point later, once there's more specific details on, what species be planted and et cetera, I guess at that, or whenever you feel like you need a letter of support for a particular application or filing, feel free to let us know, and we can do that.
Thank
All
you.
right. Yeah.
Thank
Fabulous.
you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for your interest and support.
Thank you so much.
I guess I'm gonna go now.
All right. Have a good night.
Thanks again for
Yeah.
hanging.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Okay. So we're almost through the agenda here. Mitch, we also have conservation land boundary signage. It sounds like
Yeah,
you've
so real
gotten
quick,
started on that.
started putting up signs. I bought a box of like 500 nails. There's 1671.
Okay.
So they can use conservation fund money.
Yeah. And so I think we just need to vote on
Yes.
paying 1671 from the Conservation Trust Fund.
Seems like a pretty no-brainer. I will motion to approve the massive funds of $16.71 for nails associated with our conservation signage.
Second.
All right, any other discussion on that? Okay, we'll vote on the motion to approve that expenditure. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
I am also an aye. You have your money, Mitch.
I'm
Thanks.
just curious, did we already start posting those around, Mitch? Because I was at Griswold the other day and I thought I saw some new little signs, but
Oh, no, that wasn't me. Griswold seems like that's a big one. I'll do that eventually. I did Lillian Street, and I did one of the ones at the baseball field.
Cool.
maybe I just never noticed before.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I actually think we should remove some of them at Griswold because
Yeah.
they're posted like all along the trail and they say boundary, but it's not at
It's
the
not the
boundary at
boundary, it's
all.
just the trail
Right.
edge. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
And
It's
there's
very-
3 different symbols. So it's like
yeah.
yeah.
And it makes you feel like you're always outside the conservation land because you're always right next to these signs that say boundary. So, I mean, what I heard from a old meeting was someone said originally when they went in, the commissioners wanted them like that to remind people that they were in conservation land, but I don't think, I think if that's the reason, there should be a different sign that doesn't say boundary on it.
Yeah, I've been putting the boundary signs and putting them on the boundary.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is like once that project is moving along, maybe the next project is to remove some of the boundary signs that are not on the boundary, specifically at Griswold, like along the trail. So I was actually just out there and I saw that.
When were you out there?
Saturday.
I was out there Saturday and yesterday. And I have to say, Griswold's been getting a lot more attention lately in the last, I think since COVID. It's been getting a lot more foot traffic. So, all good stuff.
All right. Mitch, was there any? Sorry, I'm getting back to my agenda. Any topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of the posting of this agenda?
Nope.
I didn't have anything. Any enforcement updates or
So
site
just
visit
about
scheduling?
Oak Hill, we said he had till either this meeting or the next meeting. He really would like to meet someone there before the meeting.
Okay.
It's really his preference.
Okay.
I could give everyone, he said, have his number, and then just if you can ever go out there, then just give him a call. He's pretty flexible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good. Well, maybe don't post his phone number in this meeting, but maybe
Yeah, no,
email
I'll email you.
it to us and then we can
So,
call him. And...
like, if we drove by once or twice, that's not, he wants to actually walk the site with us?
Yeah, I think he wants to
Okay,
be
gotcha.
there. Yeah.
Okay. Any other enforcement updates or anything?
Nope, that's it.
All right. So our next scheduled meeting day is Tuesday, February 27th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Any motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All those in favor of adjourning? Aye.
Bye.
All right. We are adjourned at 10:04 p.m.
So late. I'm sorry.